Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new 2017 Ridgeline, our newest vehicle and their newest van. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Another nice night here on the shores of Lake Ontario. The roof is wide open at Rogers Center for the second game of the series between the Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Angels. The Blue Jays emerging victorious last night. The Angels really struggling. 21 games under the 500 mark. They've lost 15 of their last 18 overall. Here's a look at the starting lineup. Same top of the order, Calhoun, then of course Mike Trout hitting second. He's had some success here at Rogers Center, 9 extra base hits in 17 games, but just a .235 average. And Andrelton Simmons, in limited at bats, has had some success against Marco Estrada, 4 for 7, including a triple.
Everybody's up in arms about Marco Estrada's last couple of starts, but I think it's just something where it's a normal occurrence. He's a starting pitcher. He's been terrific throughout the first 21 starts. He had a couple of bad ones. Everybody wants to go up in arms, but he made some mistakes, no question about it. Gary Sanchez hit 2 home runs off him. Didi Gregorius hit a first pitch fastball in the first inning off of Marco Estrada after he struck out the first 2 batters. It's all about hitting his spots tonight for Marco Estrada.
By the way, Gary Sanchez doubled and homered today. The Yankees beat the Mariners. Nobody can get Gary Sanchez out right now, as the first pitch from Estrada misses down and away, ball 1 to Cole Calhoun.
It's going to be really important to watch Marco early in this game and see if he can get that fastball over, make quality pitches with it to set up the changeup as the game goes on.
The 1-0 on the way, and there's a good change. Swung on and missed, 1-1.
Everybody in the world now is sitting on Marco's changeup, and I think when he's really at his best, he mixes in a few fastballs up and in, keeps him honest, and his changeup is the best. There's no question about it. He throws it more than anybody in baseball, and it's always his bread and butter pitch.
There's another one that misses low. He throws it 30% of the time, and when he gets to a 2-strike count, and that can be 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, or 3-2, he throws it 46% of the time and throws it with great success. They play Calhoun slightly to pull, no shift or anything, just everybody a couple of steps to their left. And the 2-1 fastball at the top end of the zone, 2-2. Calhoun didn't like that call.
You can see Pilar playing just straight away exactly. He's right in line with home plate, the mound, second base. He's as straight away as you can get in the center.
Estrada into his windup, 2-2 on the way, and a changeup hit in the air to right field, but it is playable as Ezekiel Carrera drifts back onto the warning track to make the catch. Looks like he was surprised how far that ball carried.
Calhoun hit it off the end of the bat, and it did carry all the way to the warning track. Let's take a look at the defense, and this is probably going to be what you're going to see with Carrera and Saunders in right a little bit. It's Upton, Pilar, and Carrera from left to right. Donaldson, Tulowitzki, Barney, and Encarnacion, and Edwin's going to play a lot of first base down the stretch. Russell Martin doing the catching tonight for Marco Estrada.
Mike Trout takes a strike.
Russell Martin back behind the plate. He was the DH in last night's game, but he is very key to Marco's success by the way he receives the pitches and gets some called strikes. He's one of the best at doing that, and he's got to get the fastball on the corners and set up the rest of Marco's pitches to be effective tonight.
You can see he asked for the target nice and high on that fastball, and Estrada pretty much hit the target, got a foul ball out of it. Now the 0-2 to Trout. Change up, check swing. Martin liked the pitch. Estrada executed the pitch well. Trout just was able to hold up on the swing.
And Russell is one of the best at catching that low strike.
Now a foul off on a high fastball. So Estrada doing a nice job early changing the eye level of the hitter.
Yeah, that's a good sign. He was able to get that fastball up on Trout, and we saw Trout last night against Dickey how short he is and how long he can wait, but this fastball is just high enough. You can see he just barely got a piece of it to stay alive.
Goes to a breaking ball there, and he misses down and away. Maybe a cutter. The cut fastball and the curveball are the third and fourth pitches you'll see from Estrada. Obviously mostly fastball and changeup. The 2-2 fastball up and away, and the count now full. Trout is patient, leads the American League in walks. Albert Pujols, who's had a very productive year, 96 RBIs, waits on deck. 3-2, and it's hit a long way to left field, and this one's not coming back. Mike Trout digs down and gets a changeup just above the ankles and hits it out to give the Angels a 1-0 lead.
Now, he mentioned a lot of teams are sitting on that changeup even when he gets to 2 strikes, and you mentioned the numbers. He throws it a lot with 2 strikes, and Mike Trout was patient to look for the changeup, and he connected. And when he squares it up, there's not many parks that are going to hold him. His 24th home run of the season gives Trout 78 RBIs. There's the changeup grip. You can see Trout, he doesn't commit. It's a good pitch, no question about that. Great hitters hit good pitches from time to time.
Yeah, sometimes you'll read, well, he had a great night, he only made 1 mistake, and Trout hit a homer. That was a good pitch, but Trout went down and out of the zone and strong enough to hit it out. Here's Pujols, and he drives one to deep left field, and this one is going to go. Back-to-back home runs for Trout and Pujols here in the first inning. And Albert Pujols has just moved into sole possession of 10th place on the all-time home run list at 584, 1 ahead of Mark McGwire.
Not sure what DeMarlo Hale could be asking about, but that was a cutter, and that was a cutter that just was down and away from Pujols. And for Albert, his 24th home run of the season, he and Trout with the same number. You can see that cutter just doesn't move off the end of the bat the way it's designed to, and Pujols, big strong guy, got enough of it to knock it out.
4th time the Angels have hit back-to-back home runs this season.
You can see he was a little off balance, but because it didn't move so much, he was able to put the barrel on it, and Marco knew immediately when he heard the contact.
Here's C.J. Cron. Cron, the first baseman for the Angels, was having a heck of a season, or a heck of a stretch of about 5 or 6 weeks before he broke a bone in his hand in June. Missed a fair bit of time, just came back this past week. Overall, the numbers are adequate, but he was playing his best baseball at the time he got hurt, and the Angels need all the offense they can get and all the support behind Trout and Pujols they can get. And as you can see, since he's come back off the DL, Cron has not been as effective. Takes just outside, says Chadowitz, the home plate umpire. The count is 2-2.
Well, when you come in and play the Angels anytime, even when they're playing well, you got to be careful with Trout and Pujols, and they go back to back. And now Cron with a little more depth in their lineup behind him, and he swings at that changeup.
First strikeout of the night for Estrada, second out here in the first inning.
Well, Cron, he is aware of the changeup, but this is another good changeup away from Cron. He is way out in front. You see, he tries to extend to get to the ball, but it's too far away from him. Another great pitch by Estrada.
And now the shortstop, Andrelton Simmons, hitting .277 on the season, just 1 home run this year. Estrada has not hung a changeup so far tonight. The changeup to Trout was down. It was a cutter, as Buck mentioned, that Pujols hit out. 24th home run of the season for both Trout and Pujols. And 584 of Pujols' career. Hot shot into left field. Simmons went up and out of the zone and just tomahawked that one into left field for a base hit.
Andrelton Simmons has hit Estrada well in the past. That's his 5th hit in just 8 at bats. Donaldson dove to his left, but it was past him before he hit the ground. Watch Josh's reaction here as that ball is squared up, a high fastball, and by the time he dives, it's past him into left field for the 3rd hit of this inning.
So a 2-out base hit. Donaldson nice and dirty, nice and early here tonight as the inning continues for the Angels. Here's Nick Buss, who hit his first big league home run last night off R.A. Dickey. 29-year-old rookie, limited opportunities in the big leagues this year. 2-0 Angels in the early going here at Rogers Center. Runner bluffs to start, and Buss pops it foul back out of play.
Yeah, Simmons took a couple of big steps towards second base. He's only had 4 stolen bases this season. He's not much of a stealing threat, but it was a decoy all the way. It didn't look like he had any intentions of running. Might be a different story now, 0-2.
Being held on at first by Encarnacion. Estrada the set. Simmons again starts and stops, and he got a big jump that time, but he put the brakes on. Ball 1.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think what he's trying to do is just try to get somebody to move on the infield. You could see he took 3 or 4 healthy steps, and maybe in an attempt to get Tulowitzki or Barney to move toward the bag at second and possibly open up a hole for Buss.
Not a huge threat. 4 steals on the season. The 1-2 swung on and dribbled foul. The home run for Pujols, as we mentioned, moved him past McGuire. He's now got 584, 10th all time. Number 9 on the list is the great Frank Robinson, who had 586. So Pujols will likely pass him this season. That's as far as he'll get this year. Could pass the likes of Sammy Sosa and Jim Thome with a good year next year. 1-2, swing and a miss, and the inning is over. But it's a good one for the Angels. They go back-to-back off Marco Estrada. First, it's Mike Trout, and right after him, Albert Pujols. 2-0 Angels. Chatting things over in the dugout after a less than ideal start here, giving up a couple of home runs, 1 to Trout, 1 to Pujols. 2-0 Angels going to the bottom of the first, and a chance now to check the Blue Jays lineup tonight against the Angels. Russell Martin swinging the bat extremely well. Edwin Encarnacion is as well. 4 doubles, 7 home runs in the month of August for the American League leader in RBIs, and Russell Martin is on an absolute tear. In his last 7 games, he has 14 hits and 10 RBIs. He's never had a stretch like that in his major league career.
Matt Shoemaker started out in AAA. He didn't make his first start in the big leagues until May 11th this season. This will be his 24th start of the year. He's 7-13. ERA a little bit higher than he would like. Right-handers have given him a problem, and that's because he doesn't have an overpowering slider. He throws a lot of splitters, and every once in a while he'll hang a splitter to a righty, and it becomes just a mediocre pitch. So the splitter is the key to his success. He's got to have it down, and he's got to get the Blue Jays to chase it.
Darwin Barney gets another start at second base and in the leadoff spot for the Blue Jays as he takes high ball 1. Barney getting another start in place of Devin Travis, still nursing that finger injury. It's in the knuckle or near the knuckle of his right ring finger. He had a cortisone shot on Sunday night. He says it feels better today than it did yesterday. Felt better yesterday than it did the day before. Thinks he did it in New York in the on deck circle taking a swing, but there was no like aha moment where he knew right away it was injured, and he is hopeful he will be able to play tomorrow, but he is not in there tonight.
You can see he's got his fingers taped together to minimize the movement so that cortisone has a chance to work. Cortisone's an anti-inflammatory. Obviously he's trying to cut down the inflammation and see if he can't get back to playing status.
So 2-1 on Barney, who had a good night last night. 2 for 4, including a double, walked, scored a couple of runs. High fly ball to left center, but not deep. And Buss, the left fielder, was there to make the catch. 1 down. Let's set the defense behind Matt Shoemaker tonight. You've already seen Nick Buss. You know Mike Trout is in center field. Cole Calhoun mans right field for the Angels. On the infield, Caleb Coward, one of the best in Andrelton Simmons, former Blue Jay Cliff Pennington, C.J. Crone is at first. And Jet Bandy is doing the catching tonight for Matt Shoemaker.
We got 2 of the better center fielders in baseball in this game tonight, in Kevin Pillar and Mike Trout. And Trout has explosive speed. He has much better speed than Pillar. Pillar has great instincts and the ability to cover a lot of ground. But Trout, he too has great instincts, but he has explosive speed. He can track down anything. I was surprised last night Russell Martin hit a ball over his head and it stayed in the ballpark in the center.
Here's the 1-0 to Josh Donaldson. Pops up the off-speed pitch. Bandy out from behind the plate will take charge and make the catch in fair territory. That's not a routine play for a catcher, but he makes it for out number 2.
Now let's take a look at the scouting report for the Angels starter, Matt Shoemaker. Fastball 91, not bad, good fastball. He throw about 50% of the time, but look at the number of splitters he throws, almost as many as fastballs, 84 miles an hour. His slider is just okay. It's a show me pitch, but he'll throw a fastball, slider, and when he has a pitch of decision, it'll be the splitter more often than not.
So Estrada throws the changeup more than any pitcher in baseball, and Shoemaker throws the splitter more than any pitcher in baseball. So a couple guys with specialty pitches, if you will. Here's Edwin Encarnacion, and if batting practice means anything, Edwin's going to have a good night. He was launching pitch after pitch out of the ballpark during BP today.
And that does carry into the game. You gain a lot of confidence during BP, and obviously Encarnacion doesn't need much confidence, but when you have the type of round of BP he had tonight, you carry that confidence into the game.
Runs down and in, ball 2. Encarnacion with 35 home runs, 101 RBIs on the season. Russell Martin, the cleanup hitter again tonight, waiting in the on-deck circle should the inning continue. Shift on for the Angels with 3 on the left side of second base against Encarnacion. Hits it hard down to third, backhanded stop, Coward. Long throw in time to get him. And the inning is over. The Blue Jays go in order in the first, and at the end of one, the Angels have a 2-0 lead.
As a reminder, we're back on the air for the final game of this series tomorrow night at 6:30, and it is the return of Jose Bautista. The last couple of days he's been in Florida playing in not rehab games, just simulated games. They wanted to have a more of a controlled atmosphere. That way he can kind of have as many at-bats as he wants to and not have to worry about where he is in a lineup. He feels much better. However, John Gibbons told me today that when he does return, the majority of his time, at least early on, will be spent DHing. This will give guys like Michael Saunders a chance to play more often. Melvin Upton will be playing a lot more outfield. But guys, what it does too is it gives the Blue Jays a lot more options over the next few weeks as far as getting guys playing time. But with Jose Bautista's bat back into the lineup, they also have to think about where they're going to place him, with Devin Travis now pretty much locked in that leadoff spot.
That will be one of the interesting decisions for John Gibbons in the coming days, with Bautista expected to rejoin the club tomorrow for the finale of this series. 2-0 Angels as we go to the second. This is Jet Bandy, the catcher. I mean, you could foresee Bautista hitting first. You could maybe see him hitting second, with Travis staying first, Donaldson and Encarnacion sliding down. Maybe Bautista hits lower in the lineup. Who knows?
Yeah, you could always, see him start out at the top of the order. And I think that's where they'd like to have him. He gets on base a lot.
Change up fouled off by Bandy, who was a Little League teammate of Mike Scioscia's son, Matt. When he grew up a little bit, he was a 31st round pick by the Angels in 2011. He's a rookie, had a little bit of time in the majors last year. So Mike Scioscia has known Jet Bandy since he was little Jet Bandy. As he gets jammed and loops it over the head of Tulowitzki into left field, a base hit.
Bandy's a big kid. He's 6'4" and weighs 235, and his first opportunity came last year when he got up to the Angels for a couple of games. And Estrada makes a good pitch with the fastball. This pitch kind of ties up Bandy. Watch how he has to shorten up, hits it down around the label, but gets enough of it to hit it over Tulowitzki into left field.
So the leadoff man on for the Angels in the second. And here's third baseman Caleb Cowart, a first-round pick by the Angels way back in 2010. He was recalled on Saturday, hitting .280 at AAA, can play all the infield spots. The Angels are 10th in the American League in runs scored. They scored more runs than any other team in baseball in July. And they have scored fewer runs than any team in baseball in August. The play at first is in time. Good play by Barney, and an equally good play by Estrada to get over just in time. Not routine at all, but they get the out.
Yeah, you're right. It certainly wasn't routine. Cowart running out of the left-handed batter's box, and Barney did a good job of staying with this ball. Watch how the ball gets past Encarnacion, and then Barney has a long way to go, but he stays with it, spins around, and Estrada's waiting for the throw at the bag. Perfect execution as Barney, who won a Gold Glove playing for the Cubs at second base, throws a strike to Estrada, who was timely there at first. Just kind of biding his time. I think Marco thought that ball was going to sneak through, but Darwin stayed with it and made a good play for the out.
So out number one, the runner advances to second on the play. Now here's Cliff Pennington, a Blue Jay for a stretch last year. He is batting ninth, hitting .236 for the Angels. Of course, Pennington has experience hitting against Estrada before. He's also got experience playing behind Estrada.
Yeah, I talked to him today, and he said I'm a little bit in a catch-22 because I know he throws the changeup a lot, but when I played behind him last year, I felt like he threw more fastballs than people really realize. He said, I believe that he is the best when he throws enough fastballs to keep the hitter honest and keep him off that changeup. But he said this year I've seen him throw more changeups, and statistically it's really not that much difference when you look at the number of pitches he throws and the number of changeups about the same as last year.
Yeah, the numbers say 52% last year, 48% this year on fastballs. So if you say 100 pitches a game, so throwing about 4 fewer fastballs, maybe 2 more changeups, 1 more cutter, 1 more curve. That's what the stats say. He's fallen behind 3-0. And in with a strike.
Pennington batting in that 9th spot, taking all the way, trying to turn this lineup over with runner at second and just 1 out.
Leadoff hitter Cole Calhoun, then Mike Trout behind him if it gets that far. 3-1 on the way, and it's low, ball 4 as the walk is issued. Let's get an update with Jamie. And that is a significant home run. According to the Red Sox notes, David Ortiz just became the oldest player ever to hit 30 home runs in a season. He is 40 years old and 279 days old. I guess it would be 280. That was guess who was reading the Red Sox notes from yesterday. So Ortiz is 40 years and 280 days old. Darrell Evans in 1987 with Detroit was the oldest player to hit 40 home runs in a season. But David Ortiz, every time he does anything, he sets some sort of a milestone, having an incredible year. Red Sox up 2-0. By the way, the Orioles are already up 4-0 on Washington. They got 4 in the top of the first, 2 on a Manny Machado home run. All the damage coming off Tanner Roark. Wade Miley is on the mound for the Orioles tonight. So it is not going to be easy. There's a fair ball smashed past Encarnacion down into the corner. Bandy's around third and heading home. Pennington will be held at third on an RBI double by Calhoun, and it's now 3-0 Angels.
Calhoun with his 23rd double of the season. Kids had passed Encarnacion, and there have been a couple of balls that were hit. This is a curveball and another good pitch. You can see where it is down. It was down around the knees. Encarnacion a little bit late reacting to it, and you can see his frustration. That was a ball he could get to, and they score a run, but they stop the runner at third because Mike Trout's coming up. You don't take a gamble in this part of the lineup with just 1 out.
So 3 runs on 5 hits already for the Angels off Estrada. And here's Trout, who homered off him in the first inning. And they're going to put him on. They are going to load the bases and pitch to Pujols and hope to get a double play ball.
Well, there was a time when you never would have said that. Walk the guy and get to Pujols. But Mike Trout is red hot, and he, with the base open, will get the intentional pass. But with Pujols behind him, obviously Albert's not running well. He hits the ball sharply, and for Trout, he doesn't get too many intentional walks. Just 9, and Pujols will come to the plate with the bases loaded.
Well, you can imagine how that motivates Albert Pujols to have, even if it is Mike Trout, the guy in front of him intentionally walked, and Pujols will be looking to do some damage in this at bat like he did in the last one.
They got a cutter down out over the plate. It wasn't a bad pitch by any means. Same for the home run that Trout hit. Walker threw a good changeup to Trout. He hit it out, and then Pujols hit the cutter out of the ballpark.
Well, this may turn into the most significant at bat of the night. If he does some damage and blows it open, or if he hits the ball on the ground and the Blue Jays can turn a double play and get out of the inning. Curveball taken low.
Well, Pujols had quite a animated discussion with Josh Donaldson around the batting cage today. It was really interesting. They were talking about the merits of their abilities as hitters, and it was a great conversation to hear 2 well-established players going back and forth.
Yeah.
They had a lot of fun with it.
Some good-natured needling. To no one's surprise, probably Donaldson was the guy who started it. But I think if you were scoring at home, I think Pujols probably won a unanimous decision in the verbal sparring. Would you give it to Albert?
Yeah, if you're a gunslinger, you don't pick a fight with Wyatt Earp.
Yeah. And then we won't mention any names, but another guy in a Blue Jay uniform gave Albert a little material. He said, here, say this to him. And what Albert said to him really got under Donaldson's skin. It was kind of funny. Going after the 2-0 pitch, and he fouls it back.
You know what? I used to see that from time to time with Reggie Jackson when he would be around another superstar and they'd talk numbers, and Albert knew all the numbers of Donaldson's batting average. Yeah. What are you hitting? How many career home runs you have? You got 28 home runs. How many RBIs you got? I got 96. Yeah. It was good.
Albert up to 97 after the home run in the first inning. Up high, 3-1. On deck, C.J. Cron. 2 in the first, 1 here in the second, and the bases loaded with 1 out as now the crowd tries to rally behind Estrada and help him out of this mess. Driven to center field. Pilar back will make the catch. Tagging at third and scoring is Pennington. Tagging at second and coming to third is Calhoun. The sac fly makes it 4-0. RBI number 98 for Pujols.
Pennington, who walks, scores on the sac fly off the bat of Pujols. And he's a little frustrated. He hit it toward the end of the bat. Pilar initially thought about setting up. The ball carried further than he thought, and the ball's carrying very well tonight. We saw that right off the bat with Cole Calhoun in the first.
So the end result is runners on the corners, 2 down for Crone. Estrada struck him out last inning. 2 in the first, 2 more here in the second. The Angels off to a great start tonight, trying to snap an 11-game road losing streak. Change up for a strike, and as we mentioned, both the Red Sox and Orioles are already leading. Boston up 2-0 on Tampa Bay in the second. Baltimore up 4-0 on Washington, bottom of the first.
Well, you know that it is now scoreboard watching season. It's time to watch the scoreboard, and everybody is keyed in on those other 2 East teams. But Blue Jays, they got to take matters at hand here. They got the Angels and then the Twins on this 6-game homestand, and they got to take care of business against these teams.
Estrada already about to throw his 50th pitch of the night. It's a curveball, and it's a good one. 1-2. Some concern for John Gibbons in the early going. Estrada's given up a couple of homers, and this little jam shot's going to drop for an RBI single. Calhoun in to score. Throw to third is not in time as Trout races around the bases, and it is 5-0 now for the Angels.
Crone hit it just hard enough to hit it over the infield, but not hard enough to hit it to the outfield. Carrera in right. Mike Trout with that great speed breezes over to third base, going first to third. This pitch is inside. You can see Crone just flares it into right. Carrera plays it on the big hop, and Trout with the head first slide is in safely at third.
No sign of any activity in the Blue Jays pen. Both Biagini and Feldman were used last night, although neither one that extensively. Here's Andrelton Simmons. Had a base hit in the first. Chops one towards short, and Tulowitzki will make the play to end the inning. But it's another big one for the Angels. Estrada shaking his head as he walks off the mound. 5-0 through an inning and a half.
Well, fans, you can now get your 2017 season ticket memberships and have the opportunity to purchase postseason tickets for this year. It is a limited time offer while supplies last. Season ticket member benefits include access to season ticket member exclusive events and enrollment to the My Blue Jays member program. Visit bluejays.com/season tickets. Guys?
All right, Barry, thank you. To the bottom of the second, and the Blue Jays have their work cut out for them. They are down 5-0 to the Angels. It'll be Russell Martin, Troy Tulowitzki, and Michael Saunders against Matt Shoemaker. Shoemaker getting the Blue Jays in order in the first. Martin about as hot as they come right now. 3 for 3, a walk, a double last night. Now 14 home runs and 53 RBIs on the season. Driving the ball a lot to center field, to right center. Takes that pitch right on the inside corner. He thought it was a little bit too far inside, but the count is 1-1.
Certainly a borderline pitch, and of course from his perspective as a catcher, he saw the strike zone from the other side and was a little bit concerned about that pitch. What the Blue Jays have to think about right now is not trying to make up 5 runs in 1 inning. You got a lot of time left. Just peck away, have good at bats, get on base, just like they did last night.
The 2-1. Just down and away. Shoemaker with some pitches right on the edge. Some getting called strikes, some not. He falls behind 3-1 to Martin with Tulowitzki waiting on deck. Another hot hitter.
Russell got a pitch to hit. He wanted that one back. A high fastball. He was looking fastball and had a good cut at it. And he was disappointed he fouled it back out of play. He's in one of those grooves right now where he feels like he can hit any strike that he can see. And last night we saw him pull a ball that was inside and go to center on a pitch out over the plate.
3-2 on the way. Swing and a miss. There's the splitter right there from Shoemaker.
Yeah, that's his put away pitch. When he gets 2 strikes, you're going to see that splitter a lot. And the key to the Blue Jays' success is try to stay away from the 2 strike counts. You can see the grip on that splitter. And watch how this moves down and into Russell. He has the ability to make it move inside and outside from time to time. Not really certain he knows when it's going to happen, but he will get dramatic movement on that splitter.
Here's Troy Tulowitzki hitting .258, 21 home runs. Close but no. Angels wanted that one, but it's judged a ball. In Tulowitzki's last 39 games, he's hitting .318 and has driven in 33 runs. And again, with Jose Bautista coming back tomorrow, if Bautista winds up somewhere up in the order, whether it's 1, 2, maybe Martin's 5, maybe Tulowitzki's 6. The lineup feels deeper, feels longer, but the way those 2 guys are swinging the bat.
Bautista has a .349 on base percentage in an off year by Bautista standards. He takes his walks, he gets on base. He's had 58 walks in 80 games. There's another good splitter. But yeah, having Bautista back in the order just presents problems to the starting pitchers because they look at the lineup and how deep it is, and you just push guys down in the order. It'd be interesting to see how they utilize them. And now with Travis's ability to play in doubt somewhat,
right,
he might go right up into the leadoff spot.
See if Shoemaker throws another splitter here ahead of a hitter 1 and 2. He did, but instead of it going straight down, it kind of ran in on the hands of Tulowitzki and missed the strike zone.
Yeah, you could see the catcher tapping the dirt with his glove, and a reminder to Shoemaker, finish it off, throw it in the dirt. If you're going to miss with this splitter, bounce it on the plate.
Got a note on the Trout Pujols back-to-back home runs. According to Blue Jays research, it's the 5th time they've gone back-to-back in the first inning of a game, and that's the most ever for 2 teammates to do it in the first inning. And they're probably not done yet. They're probably going to do it a few more times over the years. Albert's going to be there a while. Trout signed through 2020.
Well, that's why you have Pujols in the 3rd spot. Get him to the plate in the first inning.
Tulowitzki pops it up. Pennington back into the outfield to make the catch, 2 down. That'll bring up Michael Saunders, who last night launched his 21st home run of the season.
It came in the 8th inning, and it was a pitch that ran back out over the plate. And he told me earlier today it was a long time coming. He'd only hit one home run since July 23rd, and he was stuck on 19 for a while, and then he got stuck on 20. But hopefully that's a sign of things to come for Michael.
So if Bautista is DHing a fair bit when he comes back, then probably Upton plays a lot of left and Saunders plays a lot of right. Pilar in center, of course. At times Bautista will be in the outfield, and then maybe Saunders DHs, or Encarnacion DHs and Smoke gets a chance to play at first.
Good problems to have. Options, and John hasn't had many options with all of the injuries. You remember for a while on the last road trip, both Tulowitzki and Donaldson were out of the lineup. But you got to keep Edwin in there, of course, and he can play first base. Has played it well. Donaldson has been pretty well rested with the time given on the DH role. And hopefully his hand will heal 100%. Melvin Upton Jr. starting to have an impact with the bat. And he's played the majority of his games all season long in left field, so he's comfortable there. And Darwin Marty came back with a good offensive night last night, filling in for Travis.
And September's not that far away. And some players will get called up. A third catcher, no doubt, will come. You could see Dalton Pompey up with the Blue Jays to pinch hit a little bit. Certainly pinch run like he did in the postseason last year. Saunders slices one the other way for a hit. Crossing up the defense, he's thinking two. And he is in there in a slide.
28th double of the season for Saunders, and he stayed back on his pitch. He got jammed a bit, but with the shift, he hit it into left field. And once it gets down the left field line, that ball is slicing away from Buss, and he takes him a long way over into the corner. It's a high throw and late at second as Saunders ends up in scoring position. You stay back thinking about that splitter. Get the fastball, you put it in play. You always got a chance to find a hole, as Saunders did there.
Well, let's see if the Blue Jays can chip away a little bit here this inning. If Pilar can come up with a 2-out base hit to bring in Saunders and get the Blue Jays on the board. They're down 5-0 right now. Pilar in his second game back, as that's fastball runs inside for ball one.
Yeah, he was happy to be back on the lineup. He had a double in the game in last night's game. He also has a home run against Schumacher. But right now I think the Blue Jays will be happy to get on the board. Base hit, get on the board, and start working your way back into this game.
Splitter there, and it's 1-1. A tough start so far for Marco Estrada. Gave up back-to-back home runs to Trout and Pujols in the first. Gave up 3 more runs in the second. Cole Calhoun with an RBI double, one of the big hits that inning. Long way to go, but the Blue Jays have dug themselves a hole. 1-1. Down the right field line, headed towards the seats and back out of play. Matt Shoemaker's been pitching better lately, and at the end of July there was a lot of talk as if the Angels might trade him. His name was out there as if he could be picked up at the deadline. They didn't move him. He's got an ERA just over 3 in his last 18 starts and a great strikeout to walk ratio. Last 18 starts, 18 walks and 114 strikeouts.
Now, he was the pitcher of the week in the American League, or the week of July 18th. He threw a complete game 1-0 shutout, and that's when the Hawks really started to pick up about whether or not they would trade him. Of course, that time of the year everybody's looking for help in their pitching staff, especially starters. He's actually pitched well over his career in second halves of seasons. Has a 15-9 record in the second half.
Had a very good year 2 years ago, went 16-4 with an ERA of 3.04, but the numbers regressed last year. ERA of 4.46. Pilar does a good job to somehow get a piece of that.
And that got a piece of him too. He reached for it and fouled it off, and it bounced off home plate and came up and hit him. And he's going to take some time to regroup a little bit. But that splitter, especially with 2 strikes, Blue Jays are well aware they're going to get that pitch from Shoemaker. And Pilar really had to reach for it to put the bat on the ball. Pilar's thinking right now, saying to Bandy, now I know what you catchers have to deal with.
And please don't call another splitter. Bouncing ball to third. Coward has it and throws out Pilar to end the inning. So the Blue Jays get a double from Michael Saunders, but nothing more. Down 5-0 at the end of 2.
A beautiful night here at Rogers Center, and a great night to be sitting in those big comfy green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone. Tonight we welcome guests of TD. And folks, it is time to get those kids set for school with 5 great high-five deals from Rogers, including offers on phones, tablets, data, and more on select 2-year Share Everything plans. Hurry into a Rogers store today. Guys?
All right, Barry, thank you. 5-0 Angels going to the top of the 3rd. Nick Buss is going to lead it off against Marco Estrada.
Buss struck out on a high fastball in the first inning to end that first inning. They're going right there again. That was a cutter that time, 84 miles an hour.
2 in the first, 3 in the second off Estrada. 5 runs on 6 hits, including the home runs by Trout and Pujols. Here's the 0-2 to Buss. And a changeup is popped up. Back of short. Tulowitzki wants it and takes it for out number 1.
Get a hit of color during Canada's Color Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez with you here at Rogers Center. As Jet Bandy steps in, he singled to lead off the second. It came around to score on an RBI double by Cole Calhoun, part of that 3-run second inning. Takes a strike at the knees.
There's that good low fastball for a strike.
Five runs given up by Estrada's. That ball is judged fair down the line. And Bandy is on his way to second base and will beat the throw. which skips away, but not far enough for him to try advancing to second. That's the 7th hit now for the Angels off Estrada, and 4 of them have been for extra bases.
Bandy's 2 for 2. This one just over the bag down the third baseline. Donaldson's well off the line, and you can see that ball bounced over the bag, and it took a sharp left turn. That's why it looked like it was more foul than it was. It was a fair ball right over the bag at third.
Estrada's never given up more than 5 earned runs in a game as a member of the Blue Jays. Tonight is the 5th time he has given up 5, and the 2nd start in a row that he's done that. Liner to second, throw back in time. Bandy gets doubled off, and the Angels may want to have a look at this one. Mike Scioscia says, give me a second here. Bandy's walking off the field as if he knows he was out, but the Angels will take a little time. Now looks like they have decided not to, as he breaks into a jog and heads off the field, and that soft liner to Barney winds up in an inning-ending double play. 5-0 going bottom 3.
Fans, J Shop is Canada's largest and only official team shop for your Toronto Blue Jays. You see that 40th season sleeve patch? Well, they are available on all the jerseys you buy this year. You can get yours today at jshop.ca. Back to you guys.
Barry, thank you. We go to the bottom of the 3rd. It is the Angels 5 and the Blue Jays nothing. Big crowd again at Rogers Center tonight. A lot of traffic at the Jays shop, and a lot of fans here hoping the Blue Jays bats can get their team back into this game. It'll be Melvin Upton Jr., Ezekiel Carrera, and then back to the top of the lineup for Darwin Barney. Upton hitting .200 as a Blue Jay, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases as a member of the Jays as well. All of them coming in the same game. He'll look at a strike.
Now Upton's going to get an awful lot of playing time, so the consistent at bats will certainly help him relax and allow that potential to come out. When he first got to the Blue Jays, he wanted to be a big part of it and was probably pressing a little bit, but now he seems to be more relaxed, and the numbers reflect that.
Laces it foul, just foul down the left field line.
Well, that's the hanger that the Blue Jays are aware they're going to get from time to time from Shoemaker. That hang and split stays up about letter high, and that's when he really runs into trouble. Upton really has quick hands. He gets to this. Looks like it's going to drop near the fair foul line down there, but you can see Adrian Johnson, the ump, camped out on the line, saw it well foul.
So the count now 1-2 on Upton. Shoemaker staked to an early lead, had the lead before he ever took the mound here tonight. Swing and a miss at the splitter for strikeout number 2 on the night for Matt Shoemaker.
He struck out Russell Martin with a similar pitch, and it had that movement coming down and into the right-hander. There's the grip once again, and you can see it moves down and in. Starts out about knee-high in the strike zone and then just works his way down and out of the strike zone. And you just got to avoid chasing it with 2 strikes, but it's tough to do when you see it out in front of home plate. It looks like a strike.
Here's Ezekiel Carrera getting a start in right field tonight, hitting .245 on the season.
The key to doing well against the splitter is hit the fastball. Just make sure you don't get to those counts where you have to protect the plate with 2 strikes.
So you'd go to the plate in a more aggressive mindset?
Look for a fastball early. Don't give him an opportunity to throw that splitter. Just sit up there and say, okay, I'm waiting for a fastball. You have that luxury until you get to 2 strikes.
The 1-1. He got a fastball, broken to bat liner down to first, caught by Crone, 2 down. So once through the order, only one Blue Jay has reached base against Shoemaker. That was Michael Saunders, who crossed up the defense with an opposite field double with 2 down in the second. Back to the top of the order now. Shoemaker will face Darwin Barney. Hit a fly ball to left field his first time up.
That's that get me over splitter that he will throw from time to time. He doesn't look for an awful lot of movement from it, but he uses it more like a changeup just to get ahead of the hitters.
Ground ball to second. Pennington up with it, and the Blue Jays go 1-2-3. End of 3. Angels 5 and the Blue Jays nothing. Here comes the ultimate cleanup crew. Brought to you by Home Hardware's exclusive line of the ultimate hard-hitting and tough-on-grime cleaning products. Well, coming up in November, the Alomar Sports Fantasy Baseball Camp down in Dunedin, Florida, November the 13th to the 18th. For more information, go to alomarsports.com. Among the coaches, Darren Fletcher, Lloyd Mosby, Dwayne Ward, Devon White, and of course, the Hall of Famer, Roberto Alomar. Good to see you. Welcome.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the fantasy camp.
Well, fantasy camp is a great time with the fans over there in Dunedin, Florida. We just go there for 5 days, play some baseball, and just watch them play, and have a great time.
Are you a tough coach? Are you a nice coach? I mean, when you get like a 45-year-old guy out there who's always in danger of pulling a hamstring. How are you?
Well, when you come to play the game, I love to win. So you better come prepared to play the game.
Well, tell us about the process. I think it's very interesting how you choose the teams and how the various managers select their teams.
Well, we select the team by, picking the name. All the names go inside the hat. We just pick the name, and from that point on, so nobody gets mad.
You don't have a draft.
We don't have a draft.
Okay.
So it's easier that way. So
nobody's feelings get hurt.
Hey, that's the way it goes. Sometimes.
You were the last one picked, like we were kids.
Well, you know why? If I want to pick somebody, I will pick the best.
And everybody gets to play 6 games, and at least 1 game's at Auto Exchange Stadium down in Denver.
Yes,
right?
everybody gets to play, 1 game in the big ballpark. We call them the big ballpark.
Right.
So hopefully, it's a fun time, and we just want to get back to the fan. They deserved a fantasy camp. That's why we're doing it.
Are you a manager or are you a player manager? Do you play as well?
No, I'm not a player. Come on. I played for many years, and I just want to enjoy the day.
Yeah.
The fans have a great time at this fantasy camp. I know generally you have a kangaroo court in the morning to get the morning started. That's one of the liveliest aspects of the camp.
Yeah, we give them a hard time. There's a lot of injuries, but we gave them a hard time. But it's a great experience. People want to feel big league ball players, so they go through the pain and they go through all the things that we go through.
And the needling from the coaches and other players, of course, that's always important.
We give them a little bit of pat on the back.
What do you think of this Blue Jay team this season? What do you think of the year so far?
This is a great team. I love the way they play in the game. We're winning game with pitching, and that's a good sign. We lay on the power, but this year is a little bit different. And hopefully we can continue to be that way.
I don't think anybody would have believed before the season that the Blue Jays would lead the American League in ERA, and they're actually stretching out that lead over Cleveland, who's got a great pitching staff as well.
Well, that tells you how baseball it is. It's a game that you don't know what's going to happen. But I saw a lot of these young guys like Stroman and Sanchez. I saw Osuna. I saw these kids pitch in the minor league, so I knew that they had talent, but. Now they're doing a great job here in the big leagues.
Well, you brought so much on defense. Talk about what you see from Troy Tulowitzki and how his presence has had an impact on this ball club.
No, he has a lot of presence. I think Tulo is a guy, by watching him play, he's always prepared. He anticipates every play, and I think he's a good teacher for the young guys. I'm glad that we have him in our team. I wish I would have had the chance to play with him. You had a guy that you played with in Baltimore that was kind of like Tulowitzki and Cal Ripken, and can you compare the two? Are they similar in the way they play? Well, they have the same height. They're both strong, and they're both smart players.
As a fellow, as Mike Trout steps in, he's already homered tonight. He's also drawn an intentional walk. Angels up 5-0 in the top of the 4th. That's a fair ball. Donaldson, and the throw will pull Encarnacion off the bag. Donaldson doing all he could do. Obviously, with the speed of Trout, you got to get rid of the ball in a heartbeat. Robbie, talk about Donaldson making that play, full aware that Trout has such great speed. Basically, the only thing he could do. Yeah, he just went for the ball. If you see, he got great feet, good footwork. And you're just trying to make he looked like what's his name, Derek Jeter. But Donaldson has been a great player for us. It's been fun to watch every day, day in, day out. He gave his heart, and he just go out there and play the game the right way. Here's Albert Pujols. He has homered and had a sac fly. Take us back in time, Robbie. You're with San Diego. You played 3 years in the majors. I think you're 22. You get up to the majors at a very young age, and you find out in the winter that you've been traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. What did you know about Toronto? What was your reaction in coming to Toronto? Well, my reaction wasn't not that good. But I was young. I knew that Toronto was really cold. Was really cold? Yeah, really cold. No, you were right about that. I know that, but in the end, my father gave me the right advice. You go into a great team. You're going to play for a great manager, a great organization. I'm just so thankful that Paul Beeston and Pat Gilly gave me the opportunity to come here and play for this great team and this great city. So
here I am, still going on. People appreciating what I'm doing for the youth, and I'm going to continue to do so.
And it's not so cold anymore, is it?
It gets cold in winter in the winter time, but it's a beautiful city, and it's beautiful weather right now.
Roberto Alomar joining us here this half inning. A reminder: the Alomar Sports Fantasy Baseball Camp takes place November the 13th to the 18th in Dunedin, Florida. For more information, go to alomarsports.com. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The count on Albert Pujols. The Angels already up 5-0. And the curveball is taken low. As you've watched Pujols' career, what comes to mind? I mean, where does he rank amongst the hitters you've played with or against in your life?
Well, right at the top. I know pretty soon when he retires, he decides to retire, I know I'm going to be waiting for him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, 100%, and what a great career.
Sounds like he broke his bat as he loops one to left field, and Upton couldn't find it. Upton appears to have lost it in the lights, and it falls in front of him for a base hit, and that loads the bases.
We have seen that over the years here at Rogers Center. Left fielders having trouble. I remember Joe Carter had trouble in left field for a few plays, and you can see it's still twilight here. So when he looked up, he knew it was heading this direction, but he couldn't find it. Once it gets in the lights, Pujols had to reach for that pitch down. It looks like a routine play, but you can see Upton doesn't see it. He's not even sure where it is, and he's fortunate that he could play it on a hop and keep the runners from scoring. But that's unfortunate for Estrada and for the Blue Jays. It looked like a routine fly ball to left.
So the bases are loaded for C.J. Cron as the Angels really look to blow it open here in the 4th inning. And a swing and a miss at a changeup. 0-1. There is activity now with the Blue Jays pen. The recently recalled Aaron Loop is up. Remember, John Gibbons used Biagini and Feldman last night, although neither one of them that extensively, but he'd love to see Estrada get more out, so doesn't have to burn the whole pen tonight. There's one, and not in time at first. It'll go as a fielder's choice and an RBI to make it 6-0, but the Blue Jays may want to have a look, and indeed DeMarlo Hale is on the phone.
What a terrific play by Encarnacion to snare that ball and then make a good throw to second. Tulowitzki was coming across the bag full speed and still got off a good throw, but Edwin made a terrific stop on the ball and quickly went to second. But you can see that everybody's waiting around for a decision here. Look at the effort. Encarnacion well off the bag. He gloves it and throws from his knees right to Tulowitzki, who still gets enough on the throw. Estrada was waiting for it. Let's take a look and see if he indeed beat it. Looks like he's on the bag before the ball got to first.
Yeah, he did.
So fielder's choice and an RBI to make it 6-0. Runners at first and third, 2 down now for Andrelton Simmons. 6 runs on 8 hits for the Angels. No runs on just 1 hit for the Blue Jays. Simmons has a base hit, and he's also grounded out. Robbie is a second baseman. What are your thoughts on Devin Travis? How much time have you been able to spend with Travis over the last couple of years?
I got to spend some time in spring training. I got to spend some time here. Travis is a great ball player. He listens. He likes to learn. He loved the game, and I just wish him the best. He's going to be a good second baseman for a lot of years for the Jays organization.
A trade that turned out extremely well for the Blue Jays, picking him up from the Tigers for Anthony Ghost prior to last season, and before he got hurt last year, Buck, as you well know, I mean, he was about the best rookie. Carlos Correa hadn't come up yet. Travis was about the best rookie in the American League early last season.
He was the American League Rookie of the Month for the month of April and was actually leading the Blue Jays in home runs. He got off to a great start.
Fastball just misses. Little flinch there from Chad Whitson, the home plate umpire, but he doesn't go up with the right arm. Now he's telling Russell Martin why. I'd love to hear those conversations. You guys got to hear all those conversations. They must be great.
They're all different, that's for sure. I had it just off the plate outside. Well, you were wrong. And then the batter will chip in every once in a while and say, that's a good call.
As a hitter, you want that pitch. As a pitcher, no. As a pitcher, you want that pitch. But as a hitter, you want to call it a ball.
Oh, yeah, once in a while the batters will get involved in the conversation as well. No, that was a ball off the plate. I saw it all the way.
2-2 the count. Runner goes from first and a swing and a ground ball to third. Charged by Donaldson on the run. He'll throw him out to end the inning. Robbie, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the fantasy camp. Wish you the best of luck. Good seeing you.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Hall of Famer Roberto Alomar joining us.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. You can watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. It also includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. And guys, I was fortunate enough to be in Robbie's camp last year, and I'm going again this year. And if there's anybody out there that's on the fence wondering if it's worth it, I can tell you it is definitely worth it. It's a bucket lister for sure.
Good to know. Down in Dunedin, November the 13th to the 18th. AlomarSports.com. 6-0 Angels, bottom 4. Can the Blue Jays make some noise? Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Martin coming up this inning against an extremely effective Matt Shoemaker so far tonight. And a lot of that. Strikes down in the zone. Donaldson popped up to the catcher. A nice play made by Jet Bandy in fair territory between home plate and third base, just up the line a little bit. Runs inside, a ball and a strike. Orioles now lead Washington 5-1, top of the 4th. Red Sox are up 3-2 in the 4th on Tampa Bay. Earlier today, the Yankees defeated Seattle 5-0, which is actually good news for the Blue Jays because Seattle's more of a threat in the wild card race than the Yankees are in the division or the wild card race. Masahiro Tanaka got the win. Gary Sanchez, the reigning American League Player of the Week, doubled and homered in the game for the Yankees.
Trying to go back to back in those awards, Player of the Week. He's turned out to be a terrific young player for New York. There's the Baltimore score. Washington top of the 4th, but yeah, Sanchez looks like the real deal. He's got power for a catcher, and he's also a pretty good receiver and has a tremendous arm.
Here's the 2-2, and it is strike 3 call. Oh, forgive me, it was 3-1. Forgive me, I was looking at the scoreboard here, which said 3-1. Not the scoreboard on our monitor, which said 2-2. My bad. Now 3-2 on Donaldson. Full count pitch on the way, and it's shot into right field, a base hit. Second hit of the night for the Blue Jays.
And it was a thing of beauty. With 2 strikes, Donaldson just lays out over the plate. Watch his stroke. Watch his head, how he stays on this ball. And he's going to watch it right to the end of the bat. Head down, eyes on the baseball. He strokes it into right. Well, he can make it look so easy to hit that ball in that direction when he makes up his mind to stay on a pitch, and the Blue Jays needed a base runner, and he delivers.
So now Encarnacion, who grounded out his first time up. Big hole, and I mean a big hole on the right side of the infield right now. If Encarnacion's in the mood to just serve one that way. With Donaldson being held on and Pennington on the shortstop side of the bag, the right side's wide open.
Yeah, it sure is, but you can tell by that swing he's not thinking about doing any serving right now.
He'd like to serve one into the left field bleachers.
At least till he gets 2 strikes.
On the appeal, he went, says Eric Cooper, the first base umpire, and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, he was looking for a pitch out over the plate, started the bat, and then he couldn't check it in time. He definitely went around on that pitch.
Donaldson the lead at first, nobody out in the bottom of the 4th. The Blue Jays looking to get something going against Shoemaker. Fastball high.
Well, this is generally when the Blue Jays start to do some work, as if they can't get to a guy in the first inning, and they're one of the best teams at doing that. Second time through the order, when they got a little bit more information about a guy and what he's featuring on a given night. Donaldson singled in his second plate appearance. Now Encarnacion batting for a second time.
And he takes the splitter low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tough combination, the fastball up and the splitter down.
Well, you can see Pilar talking to Brooke Jacoby about what he might expect the next time and what his percentages are. Whether you look for the fastball and just make sure if you go after the splitter that it's belt high when you go after it.
Kind of like the knuckleball. If it's high, let it fly. If it's low, let it go.
Yeah, and that's the key for being successful against the splitter. A good splitter is a ball.
Encarnacion has battled back to 3-2. And he takes a very close pitch inside for ball 4. And the Blue Jays have 2 men on with nobody out.
Well, this is the part of the order where you got to do something, and Mike Scioscia not pleased with that last call by the umpire at home plate. But the Blue Jays, they know how to get things going. Donaldson got the base hit. Encarnacion, he drew the walk, and Edwin, he understands you need base runners at this point, and you pass the baton to Russell Martin with Tulowitzki behind him.
Martin struck out his first time up, comes in as one of the hotter hitters around. Has been in the cleanup spot for the last several games. That may change tomorrow when Jose Bautista comes back, depending on where he hits and if that moves other people down in the order. We're now trying to just keep the line moving and help the Blue Jays cut into this deficit.
Russell's one of the best hitters on the first pitch of at-bats in all of baseball.
Swings at the first pitch, sends it a long way to right field. Calhoun makes the catch. Donaldson will tag and come to third. Encarnacion had gone all the way to second. He'll come back to first as Martin just missed, hitting it up against the wall for extra bases.
Yeah, Russell's really good when he's aggressive early in the at bat. He got the pitch he was looking for, stayed on it, and drove it to the warning track in right center. Well, Calhoun ran it down, but Russell swinging the bat really well, and he got a pitch that felt like he could drive, and he hit it a long way.
So the end result is 1st and 3rd, 1 out for Troy Tulowitzki. Popped up his first time up. Interesting to hear a guy like Roberto Alomar say he would have loved the opportunity to play with somebody like Troy Tulowitzki.
Well, they're the same type of players. They're very cerebral, and they both understand how you get ready for a game, thinking about what you might have to deal with on defense.
Robbie was the kind of guy who could win a game so many different ways, with his arm, with his legs, with his bat, with his brain. I mean, he was a smart player too, some of the things he did on the field.
One thing he did a lot, and it was unusual, but on a double play ball with a runner at first and second, he would throw behind the runner at third from time to time when he felt like he didn't have a chance to get the double play at first.
Defensively, is he the best second baseman you've seen?
Yes. And he had great range, a strong arm. He was naturally a shortstop and made the transition in San Diego. And it's interesting how that trade came about. It was just kind of a discussion between Pat Gillick and the GM in San Diego talking about needs. And Pat said, I need a right-handed bat. And the San Diego GM said, I need a left-handed bat. Well, how about Carter for McGriff? Then the San Diego guy says, I need a shortstop. Pat said, well, I need a second baseman. Well, we got to fit Tony Fernandez for Robbie Alomar. And at the time, I heard it. I can remember the night I heard it. My son and I, Casey, were going to see Home Alone. And we were in the car getting ready to go out, and we heard over the news, the Blue Jays have just traded Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez. And we both went, what?
Yeah. Like, these kinds of trades don't happen anymore.
No.
And there's no question, of the four players, the least known of the four at the time was Roberto Alomar.
No question.
By a wide margin, because he was so young. And a different time, a different world, pre-internet. Whoever saw the San Diego Padres play on television? Nobody had seen Alomar. And people were wondering, what was Pat Gillick thinking?
Yeah.
Picking up, like, who is this kid? And boy, you didn't have to watch him long to realize how good he was.
Boy, Pat really lost it making this trade.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be 2 World Series championships back to back.
Four great players, just one Hall of Fame, not just one, but one Hall of Famer in the group, and that was Alomar.
Not bad. You get 4 players and you get 1 Hall of Famer involved.
2-2 the count on Tulowitzki. Takes the splitter low, and it's a full count.
The Blue Jays look like they're about ready to get back in this game. They're having good at bats. They're taking borderline pitches. It seems as though after the Donaldson at bat, and Encarnacion was on every pitch he saw. Now Tulowitzki's on everything he's seen from Shoemaker here.
We saw Saunders waiting on deck. He doubled off Shoemaker his first time up. Even with a 6-0 lead, Mike Scioscia can't relax. They've been in such a drought lately, losing 15 of their last 18. So much has gone wrong for the Angels. I'm sure no lead feels safe right now for Mike Scioscia. Three-2. Got it. Swing and a miss at a fastball, 2 down.
Third strikeout of the night for Shoemaker, and it looked like it was a fastball right at the bottom of the zone. Tulowitzki swings over the top of it, had pretty good sinking action on it. And it looked like Tulowitzki turned to ask the home plate umpire if it was high enough, if it indeed was a strike. After he offered at it, struck out.
So the Blue Jays now 0 for 3 tonight with runners in scoring position. That'll bring up Saunders. At third, Donaldson. At first, Encarnacion, but now 2 outs in the inning. And he catches the outside edge for a called strike. Fly ball to left center field. Lots of room out there for Trout. And the Blue Jays will leave a couple of men on. 6-0 Angels at the end of 4. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Fans, are you a top-tier member of a travel rewards program? Well, WestJet will match your status and treat you like gold. Learn more at westjet.com/getgold. And always a fun night up in the WestJet flight deck, guys.
All right, Barry, thank you. They're hoping to have a little bit more fun if the Blue Jays can get something going offensively. Right now being shut down by Matt Shoemaker. And it is 6-0 Angels going to the top of the 5th. Marco Estrada's thrown 80 pitches through 4 innings. As Zani talked about, as Buck talked about, the 2 home runs were both on pitches down and out of the zone, but they both went out. That's what makes Trout, and Pujols. They can hit a pitcher's pitch out of the ballpark. But even with that, it has not been vintage Marco Estrada. And Pete Walker's on the phone right now after that ground out by Nick Buss. Last start, Estrada went 4 innings against the Yankees, and he gave up 5 runs. The start before went 5 innings against Tampa Bay, gave up 3 runs, only 2 earned. Didn't have his best control that night, walked 4 batters. So 3 starts in a row that have not been typical of what Marco Estrada has been for the Blue Jays this year and last year. And again, whether it's the extra rest or not, who can really say? But with fewer off days coming up, Scott Feldman's getting up, it looks like, in the pen. With fewer off days coming up and Sanchez down for at least 1 turn, more regular rest for the other 5 starters the next time around. But once Sanchez comes back, could be back into, who knows, could be back into a 6-man rotation in September.
Yeah, and this effort tonight on the heels of the other 2 that you mentioned certainly going to spark a lot of conversation, and all of the pundits will be talking about, well, it's a 6-day rotation, and you know, who knows what Marco is truly going through. Only he knows how it's affecting him, whether or not it's a root of the problem. There's another base hit under the glove of Encarnacion.
That is the 10th hit of the game for the Angels.
Chet Bandy's had a good night, 3 for 3. Had a double over the bag in the 3rd inning. Singleton scored in the 2nd. Gibbons looking at the scorecard to see where they are in the lineup, where he's going to make his move.
He's got Feldman throwing in the bullpen right now as Caleb Coward comes up. He's 0 for 2. The only game this year in which the Blue Jays have overcome a 6-run deficit, 6 or more runs, to win was the game in the Bronx last week, the rain delay game, where they were down 6-0. They were down 5-0 actually at the time of the rain delay. The Yankees got another run coming out of the delay to make it 6-0. And of course the Blue Jays just went wild on the Yankees bullpen and won that game 12-6.
Well, we know we're not going to get a rain delay here tonight at Rogers Center. If it does rain, they got the roof, of course, but you know what, and it's kind of a frustrating night, I'm sure, for Marco. He's trying to get back on track, but you know what, he set the bar so high for himself coming into this game. He's the best opponent's batting average in the American League, and for his career coming into this game, a .226 career opponent's batting average. That's the 5th best among active pitchers in Major League Baseball. So everybody's saying, well, what turned around for Marco? He said, you know what, I pitched okay in Milwaukee too. When Marco first came over here last year, he said the biggest improvement was, of course, the team defense and the fact that he was throwing to Deano Navarro and Russell Martin. And he considered them both to be excellent behind the plate and helped him get the most out of his ability.
3-1 on the corner, 3-2.
Pete Walker's done a terrific job with his team. As we mentioned earlier, the Blue Jays lead the American League in ERA. And that doesn't get mentioned very often.
Runner goes from first, swing and a miss, throw down, will get past second base on a bounce. Bandy credited with a stolen base. Coward strikes out for the 2nd out.
Yeah, the catcher was running, and Russell Martin was very deliberate in his throw, and maybe that extra time caused him to throw the ball in the dirt. First stolen base for Bandy. He's had a career night, 3 hits and a stolen base now, and you can see Russell wasn't quite as quick as normal, just trying to reach back and get a little extra on the throw, and in doing that he handcuffs Tulowitzki at second.
Might have had him. Looked like they would have had him, and Tulowitzki been able to come up with it on a hop. Here's Pennington. Fastball there for a strike. Estrada now over 90 pitches. Regardless of how this one turns out, at least he's been able to battle his way into the 5th inning, so the bullpen doesn't have to throw too many innings tonight. It looked like back in the 2nd, like they might need to go to the bullpen at that point, the way things were going, and that would have taxed the bullpen into tomorrow's game and the game beyond. Then you start thinking about roster moves and who's rested, who's not.
That's such a great point, Dan, because even though Marco hasn't pitched as well as he would like, obviously pitching into the 5th inning helps out John Gibbons and Pete Walker. And this is a puzzle. Starting pitching, who's relieving, how you're going to match the rest of this homestand up for your bullpen. And anytime you can save using a lot of those arms down in the bullpen, you're going to be in better shape for the subsequent games.
A look back and the 1-2 and a swing and a miss at a fastball to end the inning. No runs, a base hit, and a man left. Going to the bottom of the 5th at Rogers Center with the Angels leading the Blue Jays 6-0. More baseball comes your way tomorrow afternoon here on Sportsnet. A big game if you're a Blue Jays fan. The Red Sox taking on the Rays. You can see that at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Boston currently leading Tampa Bay 3-2. And of course, they are right there neck and neck with the Blue Jays in the American League East. In a dead heat coming into action tonight. Red Sox winning, Orioles winning tonight, Blue Jays losing. Now you saw that little tap on the leg there from John Gibbons to Marco Estrada, yet he's still sitting there with his arm wrapped. So what do you think, Buck? Is he out? Does that tap mean he's done?
Yeah, I think he's done. I think John came over, tapped him on the leg and said, "You'll have better nights, young man." And he's just sitting there wrapping, still kind of exchanging thoughts with Russell Martin, his battery mate.
Bottom 3rd of the order for the Blue Jays. Pilar, Upton, and Carrera against Shoemaker. The Blue Jays have 2 hits through 4. A double by Saunders, a single by Donaldson. Had a couple of opportunities. Their best chance was in the 4th. Had 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Couldn't cash in. As Pilar takes down and away ball 1. Pilar returned from the DL last night and went 1 for 4. Had a double in the game. Grounded out his first time tonight. Lines it down the left field line, but foul. Well, the Blue Jays have been playing pepper with that left field line all night long, but they've all gone foul.
That's what happens when you're battling a off-speed pitch like the splitter that Shoemaker's featuring a lot. Stay on it. When it's up, you're going to be able to make contact, but more often than not, you might be out in front of it.
One on the way. And Pilar thinking about bunting his way aboard, but got it back in the general direction of the mound, and Shoemaker makes the play.
This Blue Jays Rogers 4K broadcast is powered by the Samsung 4K SUHD TV.
Bottom of the fifth here at Rogers Center. Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez. A 6-0 lead for the Angels over the Blue Jays. Another game tomorrow night between these two teams. Then the Minnesota Twins come to town for a weekend series before the Blue Jays head on the road, beginning with a 3-game set against the Orioles Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. And right now the scheduled pitchers are Marco Estrada, J Happ, and then Aaron Sanchez in the third and final game of that series.
Yeah, the Orioles got some bad news. They had to place Chris Tillman on a disabled list. He was by far their best starter. So he's on the shelf for at least 15 days. And that has been a real concern for Baltimore. The lack of depth in their starting rotation and the lack of quality pitchers. No problem with their bullpen. They are anchored by one of the best relievers we've seen in the last several seasons, in Zach Britton.
Boy, they're relying a lot right now on two youngsters. They're not that young. They've been around for a while, but Kevin Gausman and Dylan Bundy, both very important pitchers right now for the Orioles. Giovanni Gallardo's in the rotation. Wade Miley, who they picked up in a trade. And with Tillman going on the DL, I think Ubaldo Jimenez is going back into the rotation, and he's had a disastrous year.
Well, that's what's remarkable about the Blue Jays in first place as we speak. They've had a lot of their offense on the DL from time to time.
Chop past the mound, tricky play, and dug out at first by Crone. Pennington with the throw. 2 down as we go to Jamie. Can't quite count the defending World Series champions out just yet with that 9-game winning streak. See how it turns out tonight. But entering play tonight, Kansas City's just 4 games out of that second wild card spot.
Well, they've got a tough situation tonight. They're playing in Miami against Jose Fernandez, who's been terrific at home, nearly unbeatable pitching in that home ballpark. Dylan Gee was the starter for Kansas City, gave up 2 runs on 5 hits over 5 1/3. Now they're into their bullpen, and that has been a big improvement for Kansas City of late, even though they've lost Luke Hochevar and Wade Davis.
Carrera pops one up into shallow right field. Pennington back to make the catch, and the Blue Jays go quickly and quietly in the bottom of the fifth. 6-0 Angels at the end of 5. Marco Estrada gave up back-to-back home runs in the first inning and winds up going 5 innings, giving up 6 runs, all earned on 10 hits.
The ERA jumps up to 3.47, and it's 3 starts in a row, lower than his normal standards, that's for sure. Marco's been terrific all season long, and I'm sure he's going to go back to the drawing board and try to turn things around. Now he'll turn it over to Scott Feldman, and when the Blue Jays had that rain delay in New York, Scott Feldman came in and picked up the win in relief, throwing 3 strong innings of relief. So hopefully he can perform that magic here once again tonight.
Through 14 pitches last night, Look at the top of the 9th inning. A scoreless inning for Feldman. 6-0 Angels, top 6. Top of the order, beginning with Cole Calhoun. 1 for 2 with a walk. Has driven in a run on a double tonight as he takes just outside ball 1. Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols here in the 6th inning. And moves that pitch an inch or 2 closer to the plate, and this time he gets the call. Feldman picked up at the trade deadline in a deal with the Astros. You can certainly go a couple of innings, maybe more than that if need be here in this game tonight. Save some of the other guys.
Pitched 28 times out of the bullpen this season, has a 5-2 record. He was a starter throughout most of his career. So John Gibbons has a luxury they haven't had very often here, and that's a reliable long man that come in these types of situations and save your bullpen.
Calhoun going for a little walk behind the plate after fouling that pitch off, and the count now 2-2. It's funny, a long man in today's game is a guy who can go 2, maybe 3 innings. I mean, back in the day, if a starter got knocked out early, you could have a guy come in and go 5 innings in relief. It was different.
It's all about a mindset, and they've eliminated the long relievers. They have specialists, lefties, righties, set of guys, closers, and there was a time when a reliever would pitch as long as he could.
Three-2 pitch on the way, and it's low ball 4. Leadoff man aboard. Drive of the Game is brought to you by Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays, proud fan since 1977.
The drives of the game came in very early tonight after 1 out in the top of the first. Mike Trout, it's a 3-2 changeup and a good pitch down about shin high, and he hits it over the bullpen into the seats in left. And then right behind him, Albert Pujols hits a cutter that he gets enough of it to drive it over the scoreboard in left center. For both Trout and Pujols, home runs number 24 on the season. And that breaks a tie for Pujols. He separates himself from Mark McGwire in the all-time home run list.
Do you still view Trout as the best player in the game today? Is he the best all-around player in baseball?
I think so.
Yep.
Defense, speed, power, batting average.
We were talking before the game about some of the game's great players and contracts and so forth, and I believe that Trout is signed through 2020, that the Angels signed him beyond when he would be eligible to become a free agent, and his contract goes up quite a bit. I think it's in 18, 19, and 20. It becomes a very big deal, but boy, if that's the case, he'll only be like 28, 29 years old when he becomes a free agent. Bryce Harper will have already become a free agent, and in the minds of many will probably be a Yankee at that point, although nobody knows for sure. A million different things could happen, but you wonder, is Trout, it's rare for a player to spend his entire career with one team these days. It just doesn't happen very often at all, and you wonder if Trout will be one of those guys. But there will be a lot of teams, whether it's the Yankees, maybe the Dodgers. The Phillies are kind of his hometown team. He's a southern New Jersey guy. You wonder where he will spend the next step of his career.
Well, Mike Trout still lives in southern Jersey. He's not one for the limelight of Southern California. He plays there, loves it, I'm sure, but it's an interesting dynamic. Trout signed that contract, 6 years, $144.5 million. It takes him through the 2020 season, and you're right. In 18, the contract jumps to $34 million for the next 3 seasons. So it's a big contract, and he certainly earned it. But you're right, he'll still be in the prime of his career when he becomes a free agent.
Throw to first, diving back in safely is Calhoun. You know, and if the Angels, and it's 4 years away, so they could be a world championship team by that point, but they're in a valley right now. If they're still in a valley as he approaches free agency, can you afford to keep him? There were some people who said they should trade him this year, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. There's some money's going to come off the payroll in the next couple of years. They'll be able to spend some of that money more wisely. The farm system is not viewed as a very strong one right now. As Trout swings and misses, Feldman gets him for the first out. But will they be able to turn it around and take advantage of Trout's prime years, especially, Buck, before Pujols moves into his late 30s and eventually his age 40 season?
Well, I think the encouraging thing for the Angels was 2 years ago they won 98 games. So Mike Scioscia knows how to win. And it's just a matter of getting the right players in there. And they have to get pitchers healthy. You cannot win without healthy pitchers. They have really been plagued by injuries, while the Blue Jays have been fortunate to use only 7 starters all season long. The Angels have used 12 starting pitchers.
You really feel for Garrett Richards. Such a good pitcher, and was it 2 years ago suffered that devastating knee injury covering first base. Now comes back this year, suffers a torn ulnar collateral ligament. That means Tommy John. He's going to be out into next season. I mean, a great arm, a guy who can be a #1 on a staff. Andrew Heaney has not pitched all season. He was scheduled to be in their rotation. C.J. Wilson has not pitched all season. He, of course, was to have been in their rotation. Nick Tropiano has not pitched much at all this year. He could have been in their rotation. Their closer, Houston Street's on the DL. In fact, had knee surgery yesterday, is out for the year. Cam Bedrosian, who was evolving into the closer because Street was struggling, then went on the DL. He got hurt and he went on the DL. You can make a case that like 7 of the 12 pitchers they would have had on their staff are on the disabled list right now.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and they were so desperate they went out and signed Tim Lincecum and gave him an opportunity, and it just didn't work out.
Had an ERA over 9 in 8 starts, and Lincecum, last I heard, is still pitching at AAA, still trying to see if he can make a comeback and get back to the major leagues. He's only 32. Pujols bangs one into left field, a base hit. Calhoun up to second on the play. And Albert Pujols is 3 for 3 with a sac fly tonight.
Well, Pujols has always been a great hitter. He might not have that same ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark to the opposite field, but he stays on this sinking fastball and finds a hole through the left side. He has been doing that for a long time, putting the ball in play. And when you look at Pujols and look at his numbers, a career .309 hitter coming into this game, it's tough to get it by him. He'll put the bat on the ball.
That's the 11th hit of the night for the Angels. Tough night for John Gibbons and the Blue Jays so far. The batter now C.J. Cron. 1 for 3, has driven in a couple of runs. 1 on a base hit, 1 on a fielder's choice. Baltimore now leading Washington 5-2 with the Nationals batting in the bottom of the 5th. And the Red Sox continue to lead the Rays 3-2. Boston batting in the top of the 6th. If you missed it earlier, David Ortiz became the oldest player ever to hit his 30th home run of the season tonight. Here's a ground ball to short. Tulowitzki to second, 1 on to first, 2. A double play to end the inning. Going bottom 6, the Blue Jays are trailing 6-0, but they do have the top of the order coming up. Darwin Barney, Josh Donaldson, and Edwin Encarnacion.
Fans, the Sportsnet app is a must for any Blue Jay fan. It helps you stay up to date with the latest scores, breaking news, game highlights, and analysis of Canada's team. Plus, never miss a single pitch with our in-depth live game tracker available on iOS and Android devices. We get back now to the bottom of the 6th inning. Let's send it back to the booth.
Thank you, Barry. Top of the order for the Blue Jays. Barney, Donaldson, and Encarnacion. 6-0 Angels. Trying to snap an 11-game road losing streak. And the Blue Jays in jeopardy of losing some ground on the teams with which they're competing right now in the American League East. As mentioned, both the Orioles and the Red Sox are winning right now. A ways to go in this one, though. Barney 0 for 2 as he takes a strike. Just the 72nd pitch thrown by Matt Shoemaker tonight. He's had three up, 3 down innings amongst the 5 innings tonight. The Blue Jays with just 2 hits, and they've also drawn 1 walk. The 1-1. Big swing and a miss, 1-2. It's keeping him off balance.
Yeah, he is, and it's basically a 2-pitch approach. They haven't seen very many sliders at all, but he'll throw that splitter a couple different speeds, and he throws it early in the at-bat with the idea of throwing it for a strike. And there's the wipeout splitter. You can see late movement on that. You know, one thing you don't see in the game anymore, Dan, is batters making adjustments during the course of a game where a batter might move up to the front edge of the box years ago, and as a catcher we used to notice that all the time. He moves up, tries to hit that splitter before it moves out of the strike zone, but hitters nowadays, they're creatures of habit, want to stand in the same spot. But I can remember catching against guys like Toby Harrah and Cal Ripken. They were constantly moving around in the box, opening their stance, closing their stance according to how a pitcher was pitching against them. Now guys get in the batter's box, they mark the same spot every single day, no matter if they're throwing 100 or 50.
Not to mention the guy's really choking up on the bat, and I mean really making an effort to go the other way or would advance a runner with 2 strikes. But the way the game is right now, the strikeout isn't as big a negative in the minds of many. It's about, can you hit the ball out of the ballpark? Can you hit for power? Can you be productive? There's more of the swing and miss is tolerated a lot more today than it used to be.
I tell you, the guy that it really bothers, that's the manager. The strikeouts are just empty outs. Nothing can happen. The team can't make any errors. You can't get any base runners. But you're right, the mindset of the player, put up offensive numbers, put up big numbers, and the game is based on offensive production as far as how they're paid. But you talk to managers, they want balls in play, they want guys on base, and base hits. That's how you score runs.
Bouncer back to the mound. Shoemaker underhands it to first for the first out of the inning.
A lot of things have changed, but one thing hasn't. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays, proud fan since 1977.
Nice night in Toronto. The roof wide open at Rogers Center. The only problem for the Blue Jays is Matt Shoemaker right now. 6-0. As the Angels try to even up the series at a win apiece. We'll have another game for you tomorrow night, as Jay Happ will take them out, looking for his 18th win of the season. No play here into the dugout as Bandy went over for a look. Jay Happ will look for his 18th win of the season, and Jared Weaver 8-11 with a 5.47 ERA. At one point, of course, the ace for a number of years on this Angels staff. Well, if you can have a quiet 17-win season, it may not be quiet in Toronto or across Canada. How many people do you think are aware that Jay Happ is a Cy Young contender this year?
Not many. Outside of Toronto, you're right. And everybody that comes to town, first thing they say is, what's going on with Jay Happ? Said he's pitching great. And Jay has done a terrific job of working on his tempo, throwing strikes with his fastball, utilizing the great movement on his fastball. He and Rick Porcello, the only 17-game winners.
1-1 to Donaldson. Chopped foul.
Jake Arrieta of the Cubs has 16 wins. Steven Strasburg of the Nationals has 15, and he's currently on the disabled list.
Arrieta looks like he's starting to get on one of those Arrieta runs again. He's really turned it around the last few starts. He might wind up winning another Cy Young in the National League. A number of candidates in the American League. It is wide open. Michael Fulmer, a rookie for Detroit, the guy they picked up in the Yoenis Cespedes deal. Now he's only started 20 games. He's thrown 125 and 2/3 innings. In comparison, Jay Happ's thrown 150 in the third. But Michael Fulmer leads the league in ERA right now at 2.58. Danny Duffy, who started the year as a reliever, is throwing lights out in the rotation right now for Kansas City. He's 11-1 with a 2.66 ERA. There's nobody who has separated themselves from the pack amongst the starting pitchers in the American League. There's one reliever who has separated himself from the pack, and I think it'll be fascinating this year to see if Zach Britton gets a lot of Cy Young support.
Yeah, he will. There's no question about it. He will get Cy Young supports. He'll get Cy Young votes, whether or not he has the kind of season. Of course, it'll have a big impact if Baltimore can win a division, get into the postseason. That's always in consideration. But he's had a terrific season with a couple of their key relievers down from time to time.
Full count on Donaldson. I think Corey Kluber is start by start. He is pitching himself back into Cy Young consideration. Another guy who's won a Cy Young in the past. He is 13-8 with a 3.13 ERA right now, but he's pitching great. And voters don't look at wins as much as they used to. Not nearly as much. They obviously look at ERA. Wins are something, but it's not the number one thing in the voters' minds. Donaldson with a towering fly ball to left field. And Buss is there for the second out.
Well, Felix Hernandez won a Cy Young Award winning 13 games a few years ago, and that's the lowest win total ever for a Cy Young Award winner. But I think it's a little different now, and Porcello has pitched well. Far and away the best starter for the Red Sox, and Jay Happ has pitched very well.
Cole Hamels is having a very good year for Texas. He's in the conversation as well. Here's Encarnacion, is grounded out and walked. A very quiet night offensively for the Blue Jays thus far. Shift on again. I'm sure you saw, Buck, maybe you talked about it over the weekend a little bit. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, talking about a number of changes that were discussed by executives in Major League Baseball. None have been instituted, of course. They've got to be voted on and discussed with the Players Association. But one of them is limiting shifts. Now, whether that means how often or how much remains to be seen. It's in an effort to increase offense. What do you think about if you were to say to Mike Scioscia, sorry, you can't have Cliff Pennington on that side of the bag?
Yeah, I don't think you could make it work for the managers and the players. It's just part of the game. It's become a very big part of the game. Another thing that he's talked about is limiting the number of relief pitchers you can use in a game. And his thoughts behind that was there's so many pitching changes late in the game that it takes up a lot of time. But I think you're really messing with the integrity of the game if you got Andrew Miller down there and you say, well, you can't use Andrew Miller because you're over your relief number on a given night. And he wants to make the strike zone lower, and it's really small right now. And he said, well, there needs to be more offense. Well, if the players would move up in the box, choke book on the bat, and put the ball in play, the offense would come around.
Base hit into right field for Encarnacion. I think it's great that they're looking at that they're taking seriously length of game and trying to shorten it and all that, but it's not an easy fix. There, some people believe limiting relief pitchers is a great idea. You take out commercial time. Other people, and I'm among them, just say stop visits to the mound. The catcher can't go, the pitching coach can't go, the shortstop can't go. Then there's the possibility of a pitch clock and whether that's actually enforced. Would you have a pitch clock in the ballpark, say it's 15 seconds, whatever it is, and if the pitcher doesn't throw a pitch in that time, the umpire says that's a ball? Can you do that? Can you have the game It's always been played without a clock. Can you put a clock into baseball?
I don't think you can. I think there are things that are in the game right now that need to be addressed and changed, including the double play ball. I think the slide to second base has taken away one of the most exciting plays in the game, and that's a late inning first and third situation with the tying run at third, and the runner at first can't make contact in an effort to break up a double play. I think you're taking away an exciting play. It also enables the defense to play way off the bag at first, because you're not worried about holding that runner at first base close, because you know he can't make contact with the guy at second, break up a double play.
Hal McRae wouldn't be happy these days, would he?
Not very happy, no.
Don Baylor wouldn't be happy these days.
Frank Robinson was one of the best.
Pops out of the hand of Bandy as he was thinking about throwing down to first. 2-1 the count on Martin. The average time of game, I believe, is up a half an hour in about the last 30 years, from roughly 2.5 until to roughly 3 hours per game right now. And some of that is pitching changes. Some of that is television. Longer breaks. Every game is televised. That isn't the way it used to be. Just outside, 3-1. Shoemaker wanted it.
Yeah, I spoke to Laurel Priebe of the Major League Baseball Commissioner's office, and we talked about length of game. And baseball's concern isn't so much that the game itself is long. It's just the time that it's over. During the weekdays, you know, people have to leave the game late. They look at their clock and go, boy, it's a great game, but I got to work tomorrow. And that's a little bit of their concern. I think people like the intrigue of late game changes and back and forth, and the offense playing a part in close ball games.
Popped up by Martin, back of the plate. Bandy back to the screen, will not have a play. It's in the second row.
Personally, I have another thing that I think should be addressed, and I think what they should do with the video replay is eliminate the ability of the bench to look at the video room. Just if you think on the bench that it's a bad play, challenge it.
Yeah,
take an interview.
Yeah.
But don't let every call, oh, wait a minute, we're going to call the video room. No, that takes too much time.
The umpire just looks to Gibbons and says, John, what do you want? Yes or no?
Yeah. Give me your baseball thoughts on that last call. If you want to challenge it, let's challenge it and get on with it.
Well, then the players on the field are the ones who, it's in their hands, really, because they were involved in the play. They may have a better feel than anybody. And Encarnacion will be on the move on the pitch. And Martin fouls it off.
Yeah, you know, and I agree with the technology. It's so good. You need to have the ability to turn calls over. But you know what? Let your baseball instincts from the dugout dictate whether or not you want to challenge it. And what I would do in that case is give the managers a second challenge. You can't look at the replay, but if you have two challenges, you might be, you know, you're certainly not going to look at every play. You'll save them for decisive moments.
Shoemaker the set. Encarnacion on the move, and Martin sends one up in the air down the left field line, but a foul back out of play. They're battling and fouling off pitches, but they're not able to really capitalize here on Shoemaker.
Well, they got him up to just about 100 pitches now, and you know, you just got the feeling if the Blue Jays could just get on the board and get some momentum in their direction, they might get back into this game. But it's tough when you have gotten only 3 hits.
3-2 again. Chopped to short. Simmons inning over. At the end of 6, it remains the Angels 6 and the Blue Jays nothing.
Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by Honda. A lot has changed in 40 years, but one thing hasn't. Honda, proud fan since 1977. Official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays continue to struggle to get anything done off Matt Shoemaker. It's 6-0 Angels over the Blue Jays going to the top of the 7th. Orioles still up 5-2 on the Nationals. Red Sox still up 3-2 on the Rays. Yankees beat Seattle earlier today 5-0. Cleveland lost today. They lost to Oakland 5-1. Cubs won again. They beat San Diego 6-3. The Cubs are 81-45 this year, and that's with a stretch heading into the All-Star break, Buck, where they went 6-15, and they're still 81-45.
Yeah, it's a remarkable season they have put together, and they've got a wide gap between themselves and the Cardinals. 45 wins at home coming into play tonight.
Andrelton Simmons leads off the inning against Feldman. Simmons is 1 for 3. Tell you who's been crazy hot. Addison Russell, who's 22, is turning into one of the best shortstops in baseball.
They got him in the trade with Oakland, and you know that freed him up to trade Starlin Castro. Castro was the shortstop. Russell took over at short. They moved Castro to second and eventually traded him to the Yankees.
Swing and a miss, and Simmons strikes out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Mike Trout with a home run in the first. Albert Pujols followed up with a home run in the first. And it's been all Angels tonight, up 6-0 right now. Nick Buss is the batter, 0 for 3. Mike Scioscia's got a right-hander up in his bullpen right now, Jose Valdez. Feldman falls behind 3 balls and a strike on Buss. Shoemaker a solid night.
It kind of looked like he might be done. He's just kind of sitting there observing. Very good outing. You wouldn't think they would take him out this quickly, but he has thrown 100 pitches. Sitting next to the other catcher, Carlos Perez.
Down the left field line, a foul ball.
They've kept Shoemaker just around 100 pitches most of the season. He threw 116 pitches against Houston back on the 27th of May. That's his season high.
And Feldman issues the walk. What would you like to see the Angels called? What? And looks like maybe that's all. After that's at the end of the last half inning. Pat on the back from Mike Scioscia. What the age I am, I grew up with the California Angels.
Me too, of course, and that always sounded right. But Artie Moreno, the owner that took over, felt like there would be a benefit for his team to be called the Los Angeles Angels to buy into that big Southern California market. And the Anaheim Angels, that doesn't sound good. The California Angels is what it's always been until Artie Moreno changed it.
Now, right when they came in '61, they were the Los Angeles Angels, but they actually played in Los Angeles for 2 years.
Yeah, they played at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles, which was a AAA ballpark. And then they built the Big A in Anaheim, and When I first went there, it was out in the middle of nowhere.
You mean the current ballpark, just it wasn't built up or anything?
Right.
That's plenty built up now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could almost see Disneyland from the ballpark.
Yeah.
Nothing but strawberry fields.
1-1 the count on Bandy. I mean, they draw just fine when they win. But for people who don't know, from Dodger Stadium to the Big A, would you say about 50 miles?
Yeah.
So, you know, with regular California traffic, that'd be about a week and a half.
Have to stay overnight.
Yeah. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Aaron Loop is back up in the pen for the Blue Jays. Two switch hitters, Cowart and Pennington next, then Calhoun, a left-handed batter. So Feldman may not be long for this game. Fouled off. I'll tell you, back in 2002 when the Angels won the World Series, they had the rally monkey going like crazy too when they were down in games, and it always seemed they came back. They had a great team. K-Rod was a rookie on that team. Came up in August of that year, was a sensation and pitched great through the playoffs. Troy Percival, right, was their closer, I believe, in that year.
K-Rod actually came up in September.
You're right.
He came up in September that year because he was in the organization. They had an injury. He was eligible for the postseason.
And he won 5 games in relief in the postseason that year. Carrera giving chase, traps it. Boy, how he managed to trap that ball is amazing. It'll be a base hit for Bandy. Bus comes around to third, and the crowd rewarding Carrera with a nice ovation for that effort.
All right, terrific effort. He was trying to make a diving catch, and then once he realized it was going to bounce, he just tried to smother the ball, and he was able to take it on one hop. Great effort by Carrera. Bandy flares it down the right field line. Ezekiel gets there, and then he plays the bounce perfectly. Once he recognizes he can't catch it, he just tries to smother it and does perfectly. That's quite an effort there. He just kept his glove palm down and was able to come up with it. And interesting for Jet Bandy, that's his first 4-hit game of his career.
4 for 4 night for the catcher. Came in at 261. He's up to 281 right now as Cowart swings and misses. First and third, one out. The Angels already up 6-0. Out hitting the Blue Jays 12-3. You know, when you come into a week like this and you see the Angels and you see the Twins, and there's a tendency to say, well, it's got to be a big week, got to win at least 5, maybe all 6, and it just doesn't tend to work that way in baseball. The best teams in baseball tend to win about 60% of the time. The worst teams tend to win about 40% of the time. And nobody's suggesting the Blue Jays were, you know, taking the Angels lightly or anything like that, but you just can't chalk up the wins on paper just because this team's got a much better record than that team.
No, you look at their record as 52 wins. You say, well, we should beat them. Yeah, you should beat them, but you can't take them lightly. Any given night, any major league team can win a ball game. Of course, when you're undermanned and have dealt with injuries over the course of a long season, you're not going to have the same success. But over a short 3-game series, nobody knows.
The 1-2 from Feldman, and a curveball bounced foul. Blue Jays will see the Angels again. They've got a West Coast trip coming up in September. The only games in September where John Gibbons and the Blue Jays will play somebody other than an American League East Division opponent. They've got a 4-game trip to Anaheim and then a 3-game trip to Seattle. But the Mariners still very much in the playoff picture.
And that's a tough trip historically for the Blue Jays, going out to the West Coast. I don't care when it happens. There's generally a lot of family out there, a lot of native-born Californians, and family comes around. Of course, first time that the Blue Jays will be in Southern California all season.
Runner goes from first, 2-2, sent foul up the third baseline. Blue Jays do not have an off day heading into the West Coast trip. They do have an off day coming out of it. They've got 3 off days in September, all of them on Thursdays, the 1st, the 8th, and the 22nd.
Well, the fortunate thing is they have a day game on the 14th, their final game of this next homestand. On the 14th, they'll fly to Anaheim after that day game.
Runner goes again, 2-2, and there's a base hit into right field for Coward. In to score is Buss. Bandy will come around to third. Throw gets away, and aggressively Coward goes into second. Mike Scioscia teams always run the bases aggressively, and the Angels really picking on the Blue Jays right now. It's 7-0.
Well, that wasn't a good throw by Carrera. He was trying to hit Tulowitzki, the cutoff man, to keep that double play in order. But Tulo jumped for it, went off his glove, and that allowed Coward to end up at second. And here comes John Gibbons.
That is going to be all for Scott Feldman. Aaron Loup is going to come into the game here in the 7th inning with the Angels in command, leading the Blue Jays 7-0. All right, Jamie, thank you. Well, a loss there for the Red Sox. Andrew Benintendi's really been a factor for them since he's come up from the minors.
Hitting .324, and he's been playing very well in left field. Made a circus catch earlier in this series down in Tampa Bay. But yeah, they have done a great job of cultivating talent in their minor league system. This is Aaron Loup.
Second and third, one out. A run in this inning to make it 7-0, and a swing and a miss by Cliff Pennington. Pennington tonight has walked and scored, grounded out and struck out. The Angels with one run here this inning. They're out hitting the Blue Jays now 13-3. Infield drawn in. Swing and a miss again, 0-2.
Well, one thing that has improved for Aaron Loup is his velocity. It's up a tick or two, and he's actually thrown the ball very well lately down in AAA Buffalo. This is his first appearance since coming back. And the Blue Jays were pleased with the way he had gotten a little bit better fastball back.
93 there as it's fouled back. Scott Feldman works an inning and a third tonight. He's given up one run. The two men on are his responsibility. Walked two and struck out a pair.
Missed with that changeup. Really didn't finish his delivery. It was up, and certainly don't want to pitch up with a changeup.
At third base, Bandy. At second base, Coward. And the batter is Pennington. And it is strike three called. Out number two.
for Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Rogers 4K TV. Get closer to the action with 4 times the resolution of HD alone.
So 2 down in the inning now. Back to the top of the order for Cole Calhoun, who is 1 for 2 tonight. Doubled in a run in the second. He's also walked twice. Trout and Pujols have each homered in the game. Jet Bandy with a 4-hit game. Pujols has had a big night. He's 3 for 3 with a couple of RBIs. Sweeping a breaking ball over the outside edge for a strike. Trout on deck should the inning continue and nobody up in the pen. But the score is one-sided as it is. John Gibbons won't play the matchups anymore. Doesn't want to use more guys than he has to tonight.
Calhoun's done a good job against lefty pitching, bringing a 3.02 average into this game against the left-handers. Compare that to 2.54 against righties. He's hit 4 home runs against the lefties.
Fastball in for a strike. 0-2.
Loop could be a valuable pitcher for the Blue Jays down the stretch as a second left-hander out of that bullpen, and it gives John Gibbons an opportunity to bring him in a situation maybe in the 6th for a batter or 2, and then you'd still have Cecil at the end of the ball game if you choose.
Back to the breaking ball, and it's chopped foul. You know, fans love to talk, and we love to talk about a playoff roster, even though there's more than a month to go in the season and there's no guarantee that they'll be in the playoffs. But you know, Cecil had been pitching much better until the last time, till the home run that he gave up in Cleveland. Loop, of course, has been in the minors most of the season, and even some thought that depending on how the rotation works out, that maybe Francisco Liriano could wind up in the bullpen, although he's certainly made a case for staying in the rotation the way he pitched his last time out. Lots of things to be decided as Luke freezes Calhoun to end the inning. So he faces 2 batters and he strikes them both out. 7th inning stretch at Rogers Center.
Fans, be sure to join us this Friday for our next Friday Fan Festival presented by Bacardi. Our band that night is Winter Sleep. The patio opens at 4:30, weather permitting, and then it's the Twins and Blue Jays. Go to bluejays.com for tickets. And guys, while the non-waiver trade deadline has passed, there are still trades being made, and one broken tonight by Ken Rosenthal that Jeff Francoeur is off to the Marlins in a 3-team trade that involves the Rangers and the Braves as well. So, you know, we talked to Ross Atkins, and he said that they are still looking. Time is running out for the end of August, but there's still possibilities that things can happen.
Absolutely. A lot of guys can clear waivers. Jeff Francoeur, a good pickup. Some of that obviously would have to do with the Giancarlo Stanton injury. Not that Francoeur is Stanton, but he can platoon with Ichiro and right. A great guy to have in the clubhouse, and that'll make the Marlins better.
Yeah, and obviously Francoeur with an opportunity, and it's basically what the Braves did for Jason Grilli. trading him to the Blue Jays back in May. But you're going to see more of these types of moves before we get to the 1st of September.
Jose Valdez now into the game to pitch for the Angels, facing Troy Tulowitzki, who is 0 for 2 tonight.
Valdez began the season in Double-A in the Tigers organization at Erie. And then they moved him to Triple-A. He made 8 appearances for the Toledo Mud Hens. And then the Angels purchased him when they were hit by all of these injuries, and they purchased him from the Tigers on June 7th this season. Sent him to Salt Lake City, and he was terrific in Triple-A.
You know, take it for granted sometimes. So there he is. He's been in 4 different cities this year. And yeah, he's a professional ball player, but he's a person too. And mail being forwarded, and furniture, and rental cars, and rent, and I mean, you were there. I mean, you didn't probably bounce around all that much, but this is not unusual. You get traded from one organization to another, and then you get sent down to the minors or called up, and this Tulowitzki grounds out. That's sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's not. And certainly a lot of times you lean heavily on your spouse to take care of business. Honey, I got to go. I just been traded to the Angels. So you go to AAA, and meanwhile, somebody back home folds up the apartment, packs up the belongings, and moves you out to the West Coast. But in AAA this year at Salt Lake City, he had a 0.70 earned run average in 22 games.
Here's Michael Saunders, a double and a fly ball. One of just 3 hits tonight for the Blue Jays. You know, Barry was talking about trades that can possibly be made in August, and one name that has come up in the rumor mill in Toronto is that of Joey Votto, an Oakville native, or Greater Toronto. I'm not sure if he's a Etobicoke or Oakville. Etobicoke, I think. So a Toronto native, obviously a former MVP. He is on a tear right now. His on-base percentage is like .530 over the last couple of months. He's hitting great. He has a big contract for a number of years. There's no doubt he would clear waivers because nobody would just assume the contract. But there has been some talk fairly consistently that the Blue Jays and Reds either have had or may continue to have conversations about the possibility of Votto coming to Toronto. What do you think?
I would love it. I think it'd be a good fit. Give him a potent left-handed bat, guy that gets a tremendous on-base percentage, as you mentioned, and yeah, it's a big ticket. There's no question about that for a long time. But he'd be a good fit in the middle of this lineup, boy. And you could hit him second, you could hit him third, hit him anywhere because he gets on base.
I would think the Reds, no matter who they make a trade with, if they make a trade with anybody at any point for Votto, they're going to have to eat some money. And they would obviously be looking for a couple of top flight prospects back in that deal. Votto was signed, I think, until he's 40, I believe. It's a long deal.
10-year deal, $225 million. It takes him up to 2023.
Saunders safely across. Let's go back to Jamie for an update. Well, that's good news for the Blue Jays. I'll tell you, Evan Longoria is quietly having a terrific season right now for the Rays. That's his 30th, as Jamie mentions, and the Rays have tied it at 3 in the bottom of the 8th.
And Tampa Bay's hit some home runs this year. Longoria's hitting .288. He now has 79 ribbies to go along with those 30 home runs. And they're never an easy team for the Blue Jays, never a pushover, and Blue Jays will face Tampa Bay on the next road trip.
Here's Kevin Pillar, 0 for 2. Saunders aboard with his second hit of the night, 2 of the 4 hits the Blue Jays have tonight. And a breaking ball in there for a called strike. 6 shutout innings for Matt Shoemaker, allows just 3 hits, walks 1, strikes out 3, throws 99 pitches. And now giving way to Valdez here in the 7th. Pillar hits one well left field, but caught by Buss, ranging over into the alley in left center for the second out.
Buss did a good job on taking a proper angle to trace that ball down. He tracked it down shy of the scoreboard in left center, but Millar looked like he got enough of it to drive it to the wall, but Buss made a nice running catch. Kevin swinging the bat well since his return off the DL.
Getting some condolences from Barney that ball didn't find the alley. 2 down now, and here's Upton, who has struck out and grounded out. Looks like the Royals winning streak may be coming to an end. They're batting in the top of the 9th, trailing the Marlins 3-0. Tigers are winning. They're up 6-2 on Minnesota. The Tigers still a factor in the wild card race. They got Matt Boyd on the mound tonight.
Well, Matt Boyd is throwing the ball pretty well lately. Former Blue Jay. Eric Ibar, the former Angel, playing shortstop now with Iglesias injured. Justin Upton, he's had quite a run lately. It is 16th home run. A 3-run home run. He had a couple of 3-run home runs a couple nights ago.
Miguel Cabrera's homered tonight as well. Here's the 2-1. Fouled back by Upton, 2-2. They've got the Upton brothers, Melvin and Justin, a good combination. I don't know that there's a better combo out there right now, though, than the Seagers. Corey in L.A., who's going to win Rookie of the Year, and we'll get a lot of MVP votes. Probably won't win it, but we'll get a lot of votes. And Kyle, a very underrated player that the Blue Jays will see in September when they go out to Seattle. That Corey Seager's one of the best young players in the game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Eric Owens, the hitting coach for the Blue Jays. He's the assistant to Brooke Jacoby. He had Mike Trout as a youngster. He's had Corey Seager as a youngster, and he said, boy, Corey Seager has as much potential to be a star player for a long time as anybody he's seen. That's high praise from a guy that's seen a lot of great players. But Corey Seager's big, strong, has power, good shortstop. And the baseball world is rich right now with young star shortstops.
3-2 is a curveball in for strike 3 called, and that's all for the Blue Jays here in the 7th. It remains the Angels 7 and the Blue Jays nothing.
Fans, Blue Jays Baseball Academy, in collaboration with Baseball Hall of Famer Roberto Alomar, will host the 4th annual Tournament 12. It goes from September 14th through 19th at Rogers Center. It features the best amateur baseball players from across Canada. Come see the future of Canadian baseball. Visit bluejays.com/T12. Guys, we talked about Alomar in the fantasy camp, but he spends a lot of time working with this T12 as well.
Very involved with the Blue Jays organization. As we go to the top of the 8th inning here, a 7-0 lead for the Angels over the Jays. Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and C.J. Cron against Aaron Loup. Trout homered off Marco Estrada in the first, was issued an intentional walk in the second, had an infield hit in the fourth, and then struck out in the sixth. Has 24 home runs on the season, has 21 stolen bases. Had 49 steals as a rookie. Has not approached those numbers since. If he can get going and somehow get to 30-30, he would have become the first player in Major League history with 2 30-30 seasons before what's known as his age 25 campaign. He just turned 25 a couple of weeks ago. He lines one fair down the right field line and glides into second with a double. He's something else.
He is something else. His third hit of the night, and he literally hits the ball from foul line to foul line. 27th double of the season, and he hit his 24th home run earlier in this game. And watch the coverage he has as Loup tries to get that breaking ball on the outside, and Trout stays right on it. Again, the commitment to go get this outside pitch. Hits it into right field, and once he gets it past Encarnacion, it's academic. He's going to end up at second. He's one of those guys that's fun to watch run.
Oh, yeah.
A powerful runner.
Here's Pujols. Nice moment before the game when Pujols was walking back towards the Angels dugout. The Blue Jays were taking batting practice, and John Gibbons was leaning on the cage watching his team take BP, and Pujols and Gibbons gave each other a big bear hug, and they started talking. And it seems that back in 2000, after Albert's first and only year in the minors in professional baseball, he was sent by the Cardinals to the Arizona Fall League, and his manager with Scottsdale in the Arizona Fall League in October of 2000 was none other than John Gibbons.
How about that? It is a small world. He played that one season in the minor leagues. He went from A-ball all the way to AAA his first season.
He hits a rope to center field. Pilar can't get to it, just over his head. Trout's going to come in to score. Into second with an RBI double, and his fourth hit of the night is Albert Pujols. That is RBI number 99 on the season for Pujols.
And that's going to be it for Albert. 15th double of the season, and what a night he has had. Remember, we had that conversation about the playful banter during batting practice. Pujols saying, man, he says, you're not even in my league, when he was talking to Josh Donaldson, and he's put on a show tonight. 4 hits, a home run. He's driven in 3, and he's done a terrific job all night long. Trout scores for the second time tonight, and Pujols is out of the game.
And Carlos Perez, the other catcher for the Angels, the second catcher, will come into pinch run. Pujols is in the DH spot tonight. He's DH'd about 3/4 of the time this year, and he is having a productive season. The batting average, the slugging percentage, maybe going down bit by bit, year by year, but he's had a lot of men on in front of him this year. Calhoun gets on base, Trout gets on base, Escobar, when he was healthy, hitting .320 on the season, he gets on base a lot, and Pujols has certainly done a good job knocking in runs. You don't fluke your way to 99 RBIs on August the 24th.
No, not at all. And you know what? You got to get base hits. People have talked about how many base runners Albert has had on base, and he's been terrific. Had a lot of opportunities to drive in runs, and he's made the most of them.
C.J. Cron is 1 for 4. He's driven in a couple of runs tonight. 8 runs on 15 hits now for the Angels. They started hitting early, got 2 in the first, and they haven't stopped. Now Loup wants a fresh set of signs from Martin.
Pujols coming in this game tonight has been at the plate with 291 men on base this season. Now he's driven in almost a third of them. As the DH this year, this is his 94th game as the DH. Overall a .248 average. That'll jump tonight, and he's hit 18 home runs as the DH.
He is 10th all-time in home runs, moving ahead of Mark McGwire tonight. This one's going to drop into right field for a base hit. Perez will be held at third on the single by Cron. We've got another update with Jamie. So that 9-game streak is over. And if Baltimore wins, and Kansas City would be 5 games out of the second wild card spot. They're going to have to play great the rest of the way to get back into it. One more note on Pujols with the RBIs tonight. He's now got 1,797 RBIs in his career. He's 21st all time. Next up on the list for him in RBIs is the same guy who's next up on the list in home runs. Frank Robinson may have a tough couple of weeks here. Pujols may pass him in both home runs and RBIs, and without question, Albert Pujols, if he can stay healthy, he's got a chance to wind up in the top 5 all time in RBIs. He is 200 RBIs. He's in 21st right now. He's 200 RBIs away from 5th all time. Now that's going to take a little while, but he figures to play for several more years, maybe not at the level that he used to. But if he can keep chugging along, he's got a chance to, without question, wind up in the top 5, maybe easily the top 3 in RBIs.
This is his 16th season, and Pujols has averaged 121 RBIs a season over the course of 162. So he's been a great player for a long time.
Meanwhile, with Loup struggling, Brett Cecil is up. So John Gibbons obviously wants to hold back Osuna, Grilli, Benoit, Biagini.
This is something interesting, and you see it oftentimes in this day and age, where Loup has been kind of a specialty pitcher. He'll come in and pitch an inning, he'll get you out of an inning, and he did that in the 7th. He saved a couple of runs for Scott Feldman, getting a couple of strikeouts. But then, for some reason, maybe the adrenaline's not as intense after he gets out of that situation, comes back out. Trout doubled, Pujols doubled, Cron singled, and now the walk. It's a different pitcher than we saw last inning when he came out to get out of that jam.
And until Buss, who's up right now facing nothing but righties this inning, if this is a 1-run game, he's not back on the mound. He comes out, gets the 2 outs in the 7th, if indeed he's in the game at all, and he doesn't come back out in the 8th. You can see when he's good, he's much harder on lefties. You get some funny swings. Late on the fastball, Buss gets a piece. Mike Scioscia's Angels 21 games under 500, but leading the Blue Jays 8-0 here tonight. Another foul off.
Well, that's what we talked about. Anytime you have Trout and Pujols in your lineup, it's a dangerous team, and they got it started with back-to-back home runs in the 1st, and combined they have 7 hits in this game. They've driven in 4 runs and scored 3 runs. They have really set the tone for the Angels offensively tonight.
Back to the mound, home for 1, down to first for 2.
Well, that's exactly what you want to draw up in that situation. Bases loaded, nobody out. Hit it back to the pitcher, and Russell Martin did a nice job taking the throw. And then watch how Martin moves out in front of home plate. He acts like a first baseman and gets a good angle to make a strong throw to nail Buss at first base. So the 1-2-3 double play, and now Loup is not away from getting out of this situation.
And here's Jet Bandy, who, as Buck mentioned last time, has his first Major League 4-hit night, a double and 3 singles, also a stolen base for good measure here tonight. On the season, he is hitting .281 and 146 at bats. He's appeared in 40. This is the 49th game in which he's appeared for the Angels this year.
There have only been 2 Angels to collect 5 hits in a game this season. Yunel Escobar, who's currently on the disabled list, did it twice, and Carlos Perez had a 5-hit game.
A roller out to second, and that'll be all for the Angels here in the top of the 8th. They had a run and now lead 8-0. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Samsung broadcast studio. New pitcher for the Angels as the Blue Jays come up in the bottom of the 8th inning is J.C. Ramirez, a former member of the Cincinnati Reds, was claimed off waivers from the Reds in June. And a hard thrower, mid-90s guy, coming on here with an 8-0 lead.
Yeah, just like Valdez, they needed depth in their organization, so they had to go outside of their organization to bring in Ramirez. And the Blue Jays, the Angels, excuse me, they need to replenish their minor league system, and they were always the best. You mentioned 2002 when they won the World Series. They had a host of homegrown players that grew up together and finally saw their development pay off with the World Series.
Salmon, Garrett Anderson, Erstad.
Percival, they were all kids together in the organization.
Ezekiel Carrera, first pitch swinging, 1 down.
Get a hit of color during Canada's Color Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
One down here in the bottom of the 8th in a game that has been one-sided really from the get-go. It's 8-0 for the Angels. Darwin Barney's 0 for 3.
No, you look back at that 2002 team, it was quite a combination of great players, good offensive players. The pitching staff was young and certainly a very good pitching staff. Of course, everybody remembers John Lackey starting Game 7 as a 23-year-old. Came out and pitched the biggest game of the year, and Lackey has continued to pitch big games and pitch well for championship caliber clubs like he's doing this year. Kevin Apier, Jared Washburn, Ramon Ortiz, John Lackey, and Aaron Seeley made up their rotation.
Troy Gloss was an Angel that year, had a big year for them.
Yeah. Darren Erstad, Tim Salmon, Garrett Anderson, David Eckstein,
who I think was MVP of the World Series.
Yeah, he was, because he gave the vehicle to his brother, Rick Eckstein, who was a hitting coach later on.
think one thing I remember about the Angels that year going into the playoffs, I think Kevin Akers was the only player on the team who had ever played in the playoffs before. And they opened up, I think they played the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken, in the first round of the playoffs, and nobody gave them a chance. And they wound up going all the way to the World Series and defeating Barry Bonds and the Giants in the World Series.
Yeah. They beat Minnesota in the championship series after beating the Yankees 3-1, and they beat Minnesota 4-1 in the championship series, and that was a great series, 7-game series against the Giants. Dusty Baker and Mike Scioscia.
Here's Josh Donaldson, 1 for 3. Barney draws the walk. He's at first with a 1 down in the bottom of the 8th. And a strike from Ramirez. Baltimore's now up 10-3 on Washington, and they're doing a number on the Nationals. That's one of those 2 games at my place, 2 games at your place week. They won the first 2 at Camden Yards. Now they're all over the Nationals tonight in Washington, D.C. They've got another game coming tomorrow night. Red Sox and Rays are tied at 3 with Tampa Bay batting in the bottom of the 9th.
Manny Machado and Matt Wieters of the Orioles both drove in 4 runs so far tonight. Manny Machado's 4 for 5 with 4 ribbies.
Blue Jays in Baltimore next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Here's a 1-2. And Donaldson has to basically throw the bat at the pitch to get a piece of it. He does just enough to stay alive.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. It was a pitch down and away, and he knew the only way he was going to put wood on the baseball was to throw it back. Watching, he's got tremendous balance on that back leg, and then he just flips the head of the bat, makes contact, and the bat flies all the way down to the third base position.
Another breaking ball misses down and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ground ball to first. There's 1 and not in time at first. Donaldson safely across on a fielder's choice.
Simmons has a cannon for an arm from shortstop, and Donaldson busted it up the line and beat it easily. And C.J. Cron comes across, makes a good accurate throw to Simmons, and then he reaches back for a little extra, but it's not in time to get Donaldson. Ramirez never really gets to the bag. He just reaches for it with his right leg, and you can see Donaldson safely across before Ramirez even gets close to first.
So Donaldson replaces Barney at first. Now 2 down, and the batter was Edwin Encarnacion, who was grounded out, walked, and singled. He went around 0-1. Ramirez likes that slider against the right-handed batters. Swing and a miss at a fastball, and it's 0-2. That's 96 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's got a good arm, and certainly pitching in an 8-0 game, he can turn it loose. Not really concerned about making mistakes.
Off the end of the bat, it's going to drop into center, a base hit. Donaldson will make the turn and come to third on Encarnacion's second hit of the night.
Edwin's been on base 3 times, and the Blue Jays finally have something to cheer about. Blue Jay fans, been kind of a quiet night for them. But Edwin picks up his second hit, only the 5th hit of the night for the Blue Jays. This one's off the end of the bat. You can see he just got enough of it to flare it into center field. That slider once again right off the end of the bat.
So first and third with 2 down after the second hit of the night for Encarnacion, and now the batter is Russell Martin, 0 for 3. Big swing and a miss, 1-1. 97 on that fastball.
Blue Jays have only been shut out 5 times this season. Twice here at Rogers Center. Most recently they were shut out in New York on the 15th of August. Lost that game 1-0. R.A. Dickey, Chad Green, the starting pitchers in that game.
Martin rolls one into left field for an RBI single.
They won't be shut out tonight.
Donaldson comes in to score. Encarnacion to second, and it's 8-1.
Well, Russell's had quite a run driving in runs. He comes up with another RBI. That'll give him 54 on the season, and that gets the home fans on their feet. Donaldson did a good job going first to third on the bloop base hit. Ends up coming in to score the Blue Jays' first run of the night.
Martin leads all American League catchers in RBIs. Number 54 tonight. Here's Troy Tulowitzki. A little bit outside, says the home plate umpire Chad Whitson. Tulo's 0 for 3 tonight. Donaldson still huffing and puffing a little bit in the dugout after coming around to score as Tulowitzki fouls it off. Can the rally cap work some magic here tonight? Ball outside, 2-1. Chop foul, 2-2. And if the inning continues, Justin Smoke's going to get an at-bat. He would bat for Michael Saunders. Rally glove.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Blue Jays got on the board finally here in the 8th inning. Third pitcher of the night, J.C. Ramirez for the Angels.
Foul ball.
That would have been sweet. Little base hit down the right field line for Tulowitzki. He reached out and covered that slider away. From what we have seen from Ramirez, he's going to pitch away. Fastball and slider both appear to be pitches that he'll throw away, and we haven't seen much of an inside fastball from Ramirez.
Liner to left field. But running it down is Buss, and that'll be all for the Blue Jays. They do get one as Russell Martin drives in another run with an RBI single. But that's been it for the Blue Jays tonight. At the end of 8, they're down 8-1. Brett Cecil comes into the game here in the top of the 9th inning. 4th pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays. They are down 8-1. Cecil was last seen in Cleveland on Sunday, Buck, giving up a 2-run home run in the 8th inning.
Yeah, I gave up that home run to Jose Ramirez, the third baseman. Disappointing finish for the Blue Jays in that series. Josh Tolley takes over for Russell Martin behind the plate to do the catching here. Ryan Goins also into the game. He's at shortstop for Troy Tulowitzki.
And Caleb Coward will turn around to bat from the right side. Switch hitter facing the lefty Cecil. He's 1 for 4 tonight. Had an RBI single off Scott Feldman in the 7th inning. It'll be Coward, Cliff Pennington, and then back to the top of the order for Cole Calhoun. Don't forget, tomorrow night we're back with you. Jared Weaver for the Angels. Jay Happ looking to become the first 18-game winner in the major leagues. Weaver giving up a lot of home runs, diminished velocity. A wily veteran, but doesn't have the stuff that he used to have as Cecil makes quick work of Coward.
Well, when Cecil is on his game, this knuckleball, you can see the grip. He used that spike grip on the curveball, gets that knuckle up off the ball, and Coward had no chance. That ball started about belt high and broke down and under the bat of Coward.
Here's Pennington, 0 for 3, and he's also walked and scored. The Angels got 2 in the first, 3 in the second, and then chipped away with single runs in the 4th, 7th, and 8th. One thing they do not do, they're not a great team, but one thing the Angels do not do is strike out a lot. They've struck out the fewest times of any team in baseball. Now, they don't have a lot of guys up there swinging for the fences. They've got guys looking to put the ball in play and chip away here and there. But they make a lot of contact.
Yeah, they do. And of course, both their stars, they put the ball in play too, Trout and Pujols. And they've always been guys that hit for high average and just don't strike out a lot. They're not free swingers.
Here's the 1-2. And a curveball in the dirt, swung on and missed. Tolley out from behind the plate, down to first for out number 2.
We've been there from the start. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays, proud fan since 1977.
Roof closing here in the top of the 9th inning in Toronto, with the Angels leading 8-1. Cole Calhoun is the batter, 1 for 3 with a couple of walks tonight. And a high strike call. It's 0-1. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, maybe smoke coming up. He was in the on-deck circle for Saunders when the 8th ended. After that, scheduled are Pilar and Upton. That's going to find a hole into right center field. Calhoun's second hit of the night, the 4th time he's been on base in this game. That is the 17th hit of the night for the Angels. Just the 4th time this year they've had that many. Their season high is 22, which they've done on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like a team that has just 52 wins tonight, and everybody's getting into the act up and down the order.
Swing and a miss by Trout, or swing and a foul tip by Trout. He homered in the first. He is 3 for 4 overall. He has scored twice, driven in the 1 run, also was intentionally walked. Turned 25 on August the 7th, so his best years may be ahead of him. Has won 1 MVP, has finished second 3 other times, and in this his 5th full season in the majors. He figures to be among the contenders again. Fly ball to right field. Carrera, and the inning is over. Cecil gives up a base hit and nothing more to the bottom of the ninth. The Blue Jays coming up down 8-1.
If you're planning on holding your next business meeting, you could become your most popular boss ever by having an accurate luxury suite. Bring the group down to the ball game, have your business meeting in the morning and in the afternoon, watch the ball game. Our account executives will find the package that best suits your needs. Go to BlueJays.com/luxury suites for more details. One last crack at it for the Blue Jays, guys.
All right, Barry, thank you. Yes, to the bottom of the ninth with the Angels leading the Blue Jays 8-1, and right-hander Deolis Guerra is into the game. A guy, Buck, as you can see, outstanding control this year. He's only walked 3 batters in 41 innings.
Yeah, he is a Rule 5 player. The Angels took him in a Rule 5 draft from Pittsburgh back in December. He started out the regular season on the DL after undergoing an appendectomy in late March during spring training. He had 3 games for Salt Lake City. He had his contract purchased on June 4th. Come up for his second stint with the Angels.
And Justin Smoke is going to get an at-bat. A guy who has seen his playing time dwindle recently, has not swung the bat in the second half of the season as he did earlier this year, or even to a greater extent as he did last year. His batting average is down to .218. And the at-bats have been few and far between for Smoke recently. The last time he started was on Friday in Cleveland. He's kind of been starting maybe once a series. Encarnacion has been playing more first base, moving people in and out of the DH spot.
And chances are his playing time is going to diminish even further with the return of Jose Bautista tomorrow. Justin had a terrific season last year, but now Edwin's going to be playing first base a lot. Bautista more than likely will DH at least initially on his return to the Blue Jays.
The 2-1 from Guerra, taken low by Smoke, ball 3. Shoemaker started, went 6 shutout innings. Jose Valdez worked the 7th. J.C. Ramirez gave up a run in the 8th, and now Guerra in the 9th. For the Blue Jays, Marco Estrada allowed 6 runs, all earned in 5 innings. Scott Feldman 1 run in an inning and a third. Aaron Alloup 1 run in an inning and 2/3. And Cecil worked a shutout 9. Smoke taking advantage of his pinch hit opportunity with a single into the right field corner. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here are Ken and Ivanka. Guys, thank you. Looking forward to that. They've gone extra innings now down at the Trop. Red Sox and Rays are tied at 3. Baltimore's in control against Washington, up 10-3, bottom of the 9th. So barring something crazy happening either in that game or this game, the Orioles would be just a game back of the Blue Jays. Right now, Toronto, Boston, and Baltimore all in the playoffs. Here's Pilar. Imagine if they finish in a three-way tie.
Baseball's always been worried about that. Season comes to an end on October 2nd. You play Monday. Well, the first two teams would play Monday. Then they'd have to play Tuesday, and then you start the playoffs. Yeah, it'd be a mess.
Be a fun mess.
It'd be a fun mess. You remember when Bud Selig first announced they were going to have a wild card first and then an extra tier of playoffs? Then they said, well, we're going to have 2 wild cards. Everybody went, well, I don't know. That kind of goes against tradition. But boy, what a boon it has been to baseball.
Well, it's restored the importance of winning your division.
No question about it. And it also puts extra importance on having the best record in your league, as the Blue Jays saw last year, how that affected them, losing out to Kansas City.
There were times when there was just one wild card where teams would say, you know what, it might almost be an advantage to not win the division. Sure, we don't get home field, but I'd rather play this team than that team. Now you'd rather be a wild card than not be in the playoffs at all, but you want to do everything you can to win your division. You know, ask the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've been in the wild card game each of the last 3 years in the National League. They won one of them. But in the other 2, they wound up facing Madison Bumgarner and Jake Arrieta. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. And it's difficult, obviously, especially, say, the Cubs, for instance. You know, they're going to be able to set up their rotation any way they want. But for wild card teams, when you get down to the late part of the season, first of all, you got to win the games to get in. And you don't have a chance to manipulate your rotation to make sure you got a Jake Arrieta save for that game. I think it's been great for baseball. Kevin Pilar is putting up a battle here.
Imagine this scenario, and it could happen a million different ways, but say the Blue Jays and Red Sox tie for the division title. They do play a one-game playoff to see who wins the division and who's the wild card, because it's deemed that important in the current playoff format. Imagine if the game is here, and imagine if David Price is on the mound for the Boston Red Sox. What an environment it would be like in this ballpark.
And David Price is finally pitching the way that they hoped he would when they signed him to that big contract in Boston. He's really throwing the ball well now. I just think the wild card has done wonders for the game. You know, the AL East, it's jammed up. Baltimore's 2 back at the start of play. But the rest of the division races, only San Francisco and Los Angeles have a real legitimate division race.
The Dodgers won last night, beat the Giants 2 up. They're playing again tonight. Three-2 to Pilar. In the air down the right field line. Coming over for a look is Calhoun, but is well back into the seats.
I think it's really fun to look at the standings in the wild card. Of course, the players, they don't even look at the wild card. They're thinking about winning the division. But if you look at the standings at the start of play tonight, the Yankees and the Royals are 4.5 games back of the second wild card spot. And that just includes so many teams. Yankees, Royals, Astros, Tigers, Mariners, Orioles, all with a chance to get into that wild card slot.
Grounded to short. Simmons makes the play to first to get Pilar as Smoke takes second. It's kind of the same story over the National League. You got 4 or 5 teams who think they're in the hunt for that second wild card spot as well.
Colorado is a game over 500. Excuse me, Colorado, not the Mets, are a game over 500. 3.5 games back from the second spot in a wild card race. The Mets, the Pirates, the Marlins, all within reach of that second wild card spot. San Francisco and the Cardinals have those 2 wild card berths as we speak.
I'll tell you, give the Marlins some credit. They've been dealing with a lot lately, and they're hanging right in there. They swept the Pirates over the weekend to stay right in the hunt for that second wild card spot. Melvin Upton Jr. lifts a fly ball into right field, and that'll be out number 2.
And we just heard tonight that the Marlins picked up Jeff Francoeur. A little insurance, a right-handed hitting outfielder to complement each year out there. Stanton, of course, out.
I would expect a few more deals around baseball before the 31st.
Oh, I think you're going to see a few more.
Blue Jays down to their final out. The Angels really have been in command for the moment this one began pretty much. They lead 8-1 here in the bottom of the 9th. They're not away from snapping one of the longest road losing streaks in franchise history. They've lost 11 in a row on the road, but that's about to come to an end. Ezekiel Carrera steps in. He's 0 for 3. a strike.
Another player that the Marlins just picked up was Osvaldo Arcia. They picked him up on a waiver claim, another outfielder. He's a left-handed hitting outfielder. He was with Tampa Bay. They designated him for assignment, and of course he started out his big league career with the Twins. So they're picking up parts all over the place right now. Miami.
Now the Blue Jays will await the arrival of Jose Bautista tomorrow. He is going to rejoin the team, is likely to DH tomorrow night as the Blue Jays and Angels wrap up the series. A couple of simulated games down in Florida. All systems go apparently, and expected to be back in the lineup tomorrow night.
I hope he simulated a couple of home runs.
John Gibbons hopes so too.
Well, simulated games, obviously, he's playing against his own minor leaguers and gets a few at bats, probably just to get some timing. And you know, his presence is going to be welcome to this team. They need him back. And just think about it, how often have they had their entire lineup intact this season, and they're still tied for first place?
1-2.
Again, that just shows you the value of pitching. The Blue Jays lead the American League in pitching, and because of that, they are tied with the Red Sox in first place.
All right, Dickey pitching well last night. Jay Happ on the mound tomorrow night. Up the middle, a base hit for Carrera. Smoke is getting the wave and will come in to score to make it 8-2.
Now Smoke had the pinch hit, base hit to right, comes around to score, picks up the RBI for Carrera, who drives in his 17th run, and gives something for the Blue Jays fans to cheer about as they score a run here in the ninth. It's been a disappointing night offensively for the Blue Jays.
Here's Darwin Barney. Barney 0 for 3 and a walk. Fastball in for a strike. So the Blue Jays with a single run in the 8th, another run here in the 9th. They'll still trail 8-2 with 2 down in the bottom of the 9th. And Rally Caps doing everything they can, but this mountain may be a little bit too big to climb for Rally Caps tonight. Never hurts to try, though. That's a fair ball. On his way to third is Carrera. On his way to second is Barney.
Darwin Barney had a couple of hits in last night's game. He doubled in his first at bat, scored the first run of the game. Carrera ends up in third. Well, Blue Jays trying to finish up strong here tonight.
Here's Josh Donaldson. I think the Blue Jays have done enough to at least make the phone ring down in the Angels bullpen right now. A little movement down there. Donaldson trying to keep it going. 1 for 4, had a base hit back in the 4th inning. Ground ball to third. And that's the ball game. The Angels even up the series at a win apiece. They get a nice pitching performance from Matt Shoemaker. Trout and Pujols hit home runs in the first, and they beat the Blue Jays 8-2.
Yeah, you just have to turn the page very quickly. Mike Trout and Albert Pujols went back-to-back in the first inning and really set the tone for the Angels, who score 8 runs on 17 hits. Pujols and Trout combined for 7 hits in the ball game. They drove in 4 runs and scored 3, so it was basically an overall team effort, but the 2 stars in their lineup got it off and running tonight.
8-2, the Angels beat the Blue Jays. Time now for Sportsnet Central. Let's send you back to the studio. Again, here are Ken and Ivanka.